Alright, case of the Serialized Killer. The doors were all locked and the windows barred. The afternoon sun barely managed to leak into the dusty mansion. But when the visitor knocked, the sharp sound resounded throughout the halls. Somewhere, inaudible over the knocking, a pitiful voice let out a groan and called out into the hallway. Clumsy hands pulled a pillow over his face. Ugh, that's so loud. I swear I can see it. Don't stop. This headache will crack my skull in two. Oh, I've been there. While one man complained, another was already rushing to answer the door. You have a hangover, not a headache. Oh, that paper texture. Oh, it's the good stuff. Have mercy, Holly. I can't handle this today. You couldn't handle this yesterday. And I don't think you'll have a lobster's chance at boiling water of handling it tomorrow. Unsympathetic, but undeterred, Holly Faraday made his way towards the front door. He ignored the other speaker and their continued whining. He sighed. The moaning wouldn't stop until the knocking did, and Faraday would have to be the one to take care of it. Opening up the door was quite a task. He muttered through a devious set of tongue-twisting charms, cracked a stick of chalk over the handle, and attached a frankly ludicrous amount of deadbolts. Any interest in the novelty of ritual magic had worn off months ago. The seal broke and crisp air emerged. Or entered. Ooh. Been streaming for 3 minutes and I already can't read. Full of the staticky flavor of fall. Holly blinked as his eyes adjusted. He hadn't missed all that sunlight, nor the serious, stiffly disapproving faces of people on the outside. A messenger was standing in the step, letter in hand. Whomever had sent it had paid to have it hand-delivered. Urgent letter for Mr. Ludlud? Kale? Holly raised an eyebrow. They'd paid to have it hand-delivered, but not, it seemed, enough to know the recipient. Ludi Keel. Luda Keel. Comprehension seemed to dawn on the messenger's face, quickly followed by the inevitable grimace of distaste. I see. Him. Faraday took a letter from his hand, gave it the once-over. It's not a bomb, is it? That got the jerk's attention. No, sir, it's a personal invitation. Really? Well, toss my oars. Thanks. Holly rummaged in his pocket for a tip, and once that transaction was accomplished, set about resealing the door. He didn't want to be responsible for anything escaping. Soon, the business was accomplished. All that was left was to find out what was in the letter. Harry! Quieter, please. You should get up. Open your mail yourself. Faraday could hear angry muttering as Harold got out of bed. He sounded irate, but at least he was up. I won't do it. I've done 2 before. It's all so terribly demeaning. 2 stocking-clad feet met the ground. Then, one of those feet failed to keep balance, and the ground became acquainted with a pair of elbows and a forehead. Seances are just a tasteless parlor trick. He clawed his way up the doorframe and Herod Ludicale stood as tall as he momentarily could. How dare they? They're speaking to a true alchemical genius. Looking good, buddy. Looking good. A man who can control the fabric of the human soul. Holly fluttered the letter at him. Why don't you try controlling the fabric of your pants, buddy? Harold took one moment to register his state of undress. And that moment was all it took to puncture what little energy he had. Be that as it may, neither I nor anyone could show up and summon the souls of the dead Their regrets or outstanding grievances? Perhaps I could summon those. But any vengeful presence strong enough to contact might kill the whole lot of them rather than shake the table. Holly sighed again. Maybe it would have been better to leave Harold passed out on the chase lounge. After all, Harold couldn't be pedantic while passed out on the chase lounge. I'll tell this Bell person you say no then. Harold waved a permissive gesture. Good. Don't call me unless a big one's escape. It took a while for anything to filter through the muck in his brain, and, as a neuron finally made contact, Harold tripped again. Bell? As in Bernadette Bell? The author? Ollie caught both Harold and the sudden wild look in his eye. The famous author? Yeah. Managing both Harold and the letter was certainly a handful, but Ollie managed to reread the letter, which was to say, the letter. The latter, which was to say the letter. Don't hit me with the wordplay this early. It says, Professor Ludikiel, I request your presence at a party at my home this coming Saturday. I've heard tell of your incredible research into the supernatural sciences, and I need a man with your experience for the job. I can trust no one else with this important task. My regards, Bernadette Bell. Harold got to his feet, brushing himself off. Well, it would be the pinnacle of rudeness to decline. So, will you bring business cards to this? Or will you just pass out slips labeled Kiss Ass so they know your real job? Harold shook his head, hangover suddenly absent. How do you not know Belle? She's been serialized for 2 years now, writes those murder mysteries with the shockingly grisly means of death. Holly shrugged. An associate of hers was just murdered a few days ago. The irony kept it all over the papers. They've no leads at all, claiming an imp might have been the murder weapon. It's creepy to obsess over other people's business. You never know when you might need that information. We wouldn't want to make a faux pas if we meet her. Psh, fine, I guess that settles it. Even if you just said seances were fake. I mean, it's more complicated than that. And even if there's very little evidence that they're real, you never know what we might find out in the future. That's a longer way to say fake. So, they want a good ghost story for their party. What's wrong with that? It's not deceptive per se. It's fun for the guests if we all pretend it's real. That's the idea. Holly chuckled. Well then, I'm coming with you. Seeing you lie your ass off sounds like a show I don't want to miss. Plus, they said there'll be dinner. I haven't gone to eat something I didn't cook myself in ages. Harold chewed the inside of his cheek for a moment before responding. Just promise me you won't embarrass me. Me? With you running around playing pretend about fake ghosts for a scrap of establishment acknowledgement. You really think I'm going to be the embarrassing one? Well, you don't exactly know how to dress. Holly didn't see fit to dignify that with a response. He turned around and left Harold standing, in the hall, in his undergarments. A week later, Faraday and Harold stood dorked by the massive mansion of Bernadette Bell. Thank goodness I brought the big jar of salt. This place is gonna need a lot to seal. You're going to be faking the ghost thing. Why bother sealing anything? I'm a professional, Holly. I am at least capable of sealing a building until sunrise. Sure you can stay up that late? Stepping onto the front porch, their feet passed over a metal grate. The strange device on the floor set off a ringing tone inside the house. Do you think that's an imp doorbell? That seems excessive. Not to mention expensive. Or maybe the place is rigged with electricity? She must be even richer than I thought. How do I look? Fine. I really wish you'd have dressed in something nicer. This is the nicest stuff I have. Plus, it's not like clothes change who you are. Either they'll like you, or they won't. And surprisingly, this did nothing at all to assuage Faraday's... companion? Question mark? Associate? Question mark? Huh. Now there was a question. What was Harry Ludacille to him? What even were they anymore? Keeping track of Ludacille's social lives was one thing, but at this point, even finding a true label was beyond Faraday's capabilities. Especially because he really, really didn't want to think about any of that right now. Just say I'm your assistant. They won't care then. Oh, that only made it worse. Faraday tried again. So you read a few of her books this week, right? Well, I read a bit. Define a bit. I fell asleep on the third page. I usually like seafaring stories, but it was so dreary. Don't look at me like that. There's going to be a play soon. I'll simply watch that when it comes out. But the short stories are good! I'm certain they are. You can tell me all about how the book was better once we've seen the show. Look, the first one sucks. She's clearly never been on a boat before. But they get a lot better. Do they now? I wanted to come prepared, so I read a few. There was the sound of movement behind the door. The host herself, Bernadette Bell, opened the door. A robust woman in fashionable dress, there was a touch of tiredness in her gaze and a rasp in her throat. A stern, elderly figure stood behind her. Oh, it's Dr. Ludacille. I'm sorry to keep you waiting. I haven't been feeling up to snuff lately. It's no trouble, Miss Bell. And please, call me Harold. Harold it is, then. I'm glad you could make it. It might have been rather short notice, but for you, anything. I must confess to being something of a fan. Really? And this is my assistant, Holly Faraday. Don't worry, I understand how valuable good help is. This is my editor, Debbie Vance. Vance extended her wrist towards Harold. Her dress and demeanor were both firmly rooted in the prior century. I was the one who told her about your work. Harold, no stranger to dusty old customs, kissed the back of Vance's hand. A pleasure to meet you both. Come on in. Don't just stand out there. I want to get started as soon as everyone else has arrived. Miss Bell, I need some time, to prepare. I love that you've kept this whole thing very mysterious. It suits a mystery writer like yourself. But I do need to know whom I'll be summoning. My friend, Gareth Canterbury. Such a recent death might be difficult to summon. If you can't do it, then please tell me now. I meant for an amateur it would be impossible, but for an experienced summoner like me, it shouldn't be a problem. Faraday leaned in to whisper, Harry, how the hell are you going to fake? Harold hissed back softly. Have you ever heard of hot reading? Harold puffed his chest out. He seemed filled head to toe with confidence, instead of trepidation and gin. We need to get a list of the deceased's personal traits and attachments so we can contact her properly. Faraday, take some notes for me. Harold thrust a leather-bound journal into Faraday's hands. Wait, this notebook is... Then, he folded to a new page and started to write. Sometimes, Faraday will take notes on the people around him. These notes can be accessed anytime clicking the journal icon. E. Mm-hmm. 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 Oh, yes. We figured that out, thank you. Belle turned to Vance for a moment. While she's distracted, Faraday hissed a whisper to Harold. Harry, why are there notes on me? Well, I started assembling all my notes on people into one notebook. Easy to keep on hand. Holly rolled his eyes and sarcasm dripped from his tone. Oh, of course. That makes perfect sense. Wait, of course we saw. Lip voice itself?
Self-voicing enabled.
Oh, okay.
Self-voicing disabled.
It'll, like, machine read it. That's cool. That's cool. You know what? Once again, actual accessibility. Not, Game Awards level accessibility. We put in one colorblind mode. Yay! Most people don't think to keep an insane little dossier of everyone they pass by. Well, my memory isn't what it used to be, on account of all the gin. What if I slip up and say something that accidentally touches upon a sore nerve, and they never forgive me? Faraday took to furious scribbling. Harold looked over Holly's shoulder and watched him write. Oh, very mature. Well, no choice. He likes mulled cider. Ask him out for a drink. Yes. Jerk. There we go. His house is full of nightmares that are a pain in the ass to deal with, but he's the most notable one! Aw, the girls are fighting. Oh, very, very mature. While you're at it, add snores in his sleep to your page. Ha ha! Belle's laughter cut through their squabble. Don't you agree, Harold? Absolutely, quite amusing. Harold had no idea what she'd been discussing with Vance, but people always like to hear that they were funny. Miss Belle, I hate to divert you back towards a sensitive subject, but could you tell me a little about your friend's career? It's important that I know what might tie her to this mortal plane. Belle didn't miss a beat, pride in her eyes as she responded. She was a fabulous illustrator. She worked on cover art for The Chain. Faraday leaned towards Harold to whisper, The Chain is the magazine her stories are serialized in. So would you say she liked her job? Loved it! She and I would head out to find scenes for her to paint while I did some rough drafting. She and I met when she had to illustrate something for one of my stories for the cover. She took a lot of pride in her work. Some people even collected the journals just for their covers. Quite a feat to say. Sometimes the journals sold just because of her artwork. She wasn't well liked by the heads of the journal. She just told it like it is. Management always hates that. Just wanted to be clear. Maybe the job didn't love her as much as she loved it. I suppose. In the parlor, there were two guests already chatting away. Or rather, one of them was endlessly, excitedly prattling on, while the other loomed silent. Faraday and Harold attempted not to stare. They failed, utterly. Belle followed their gazes and chimed in. May I present Goose Downey? They're here to help me with some details about future writing ideas. They're a hitman! Inspiration is vital for a good story. And who would know more about murder than that? So tacky. Faraday took note of the new guests. Here, let's get in there. Let's get in there. Alright. Harry, if you're reading this, the train one is great. That's cute. Goose Downey, they then, hitman? Here for Belle's research? The doorbell rang and Belle grabbed Vance's hand. Oh, another arrival! And with that, Belle hurried Vance away, sounding slightly winded. Finally! I was starting to think it would just be me and this guy all night. The taller person said nothing. But the lack of response did not seem to slow the woman down. So, who do we have here? 2 of you, right? She prodded at them with her cane, whacking them about the ankles. Or is it just one person with a really big imp? Oh, no, it's 2 of us. So you can speak. Well, that's helpful. Yes, I'm Dr. Harold Ludacille, and I'll be performing the seance this evening. Man, she wasn't kidding when she said she was getting an expert. Harold beamed. Shame it had to be you, though. And just who do you think you are? Harold did his best to shush Faraday. But the woman heard him anyway and could scarcely hold back a peal of arrogant laughter. Me? I'm Dea DeLu. Harry gave an audible groan of disappointment, which only served to make her grin even more broadly. Yup, that DeLu. If you've seen a ship with our marking, then I designed it. Even if you haven't seen the marking, we made half the ships in the harbor, so, you know, you're welcome. For all the free trade you enjoy each day? Faraday gritted his teeth and decided not to let the shipwright get away with the slight. Big deal, so you made 1 or 2. 100? Ships. Good for you. I've been on better. Ooh, big words, Mr. It's Faraday. Holly Faraday. DeLu shrugged. Never heard of you. Faraday sucked in a breath to tell DeLu exactly who he was. But Harold lifted a hand and gave him a desperate, pleading look. Instead, he looked down at the journal sullenly and scrawled his ire into it instead of saying anything aloud. Harry turned to the taller fellow, hoping to have a little more luck with them. Hello, a pleasure to meet you. The figure gave the slightest of nods, and then stared at Harold, offering no further greeting. Harry's mind had a half-dozen reasons why Goose might choose to commit this social slight, and how each of them was probably Harold's own fault. He was so wrapped up in that preemptive guilt, and he almost missed it when they did speak. Hey. A great listener, this one. I was just telling them about how marriage is a scam. Harold did not have time to ask what could have caused such a topic to come up. He just got straight to nodding. Yes, spending your life with just one person would be so limiting. I disagree. Commitment is nice. That's not to say that life partnership doesn't have its upsides. Faraday rolled his eyes. You getting dizzy over there? Let's see what we got. Oh, it is Deleuze. It's assumed. You know, the French concept of whatever consonant you see at the end of a word, just don't pronounce it. I think she's so special because she's economically noteworthy. Ooh, capitalism. Ooh. Miss Deleuze, do you happen to know anything about Gareth Canterbury? Just that she died and people keep talking about it. Thea Deleuze gave a carefree shrug. How about you, Goosey? Wasn't me. Outside the room, there was a lilting, melodic cry of joy. Deleuze's head turned tentatively. Please tell me that's who it sounds like it is. The sound of fawning excitement traveled down the hall, and before long the host arrived, her next guest in tow. The door swung open, revealing a figure swathed in pink silks and sheer beaded fabric. Her eyes shone with abundant delight. Harold gave a slight gasp of enthusiasm. It's Clarice Myers! Who? Can't take an interest in current events, will never have anything to talk about. You can talk about the current state of mold in your kitchen. Oh, your parlor is beautiful. Is it the inspiration for Duchess Baker's parlor? How could you tell? I've been rereading all of her scenes. The way that bookshelf is positioned, and the pattern of the chair. Yes, I picture her scheming all of her nefarious plots right in that chair over there. The energetic young lady crossed the room to run her hand along the fabric of the arm. Oh, it gives me a perfectly wicked vibe. Can I sit in it? You certainly can. The young lady settled into the chair, and the innocent features of her face contorted into a sinister glare. She threw back her head and gave a laugh so chilling, goosebumps rose on the back of Faraday's neck. Try as you might, for as long as you live, you'll never prove it was me, Constance Little Bear. Pell's jaw dropped. Exactly how I imagine her. I love it. Miss Myers, I think you're disturbing the other guests. Oh, accidentally clicking on the book. Yeah, it's fine. We'll give it a little chickadee check anyway. Nope, nothing new yet. The young lady hopped from the chair, eyes once again wide and apologetic. I'm so sorry, everyone. I'm just so thrilled to see it for myself. No, Debbie, stop being such a spoilsport. Miss Myers, I couldn't have asked the director to cast a better Duchess. Yeah, are you kidding? A preview performance right here? Sounds like she knows how to party, unlike the rest of you chumps. Dea poked Goose in the knee with her cane. When are you gonna start doing an evil laugh? That seems like something a real hitman would have. Better if they don't hear you coming. This guy is starting to creep me out. Shh, don't let them hear you. Belle and Myers, however, were still off in their own little world, fawning over each other. Oh, I hate to be a bother, but Miss Belle, can I please have you sign this copy of the chain? I have all of the ones with your stories in them, but this one is my favorite. Constance racing to solve the murder before the train pulls into the next station, all well knowing she might be found by the conductor. It was so thrilling. Belle took the less than pristine magazine and unclipped a gleaming bronze fountain pen from her pocket. Her signature was large and loopy in a striking indigo ink. I use this pen for all my manuscripts too. This ink just seems like it makes my pen flow faster. Myers' eyes sparkled with admiration as she took the signed copy back. She stared in awe as if she'd just seen magic. Belle seemed to remember that the rest of the guests were here. Oh, let me introduce Miss Clarice. Clarice Myers. Loved you in that one with the flower girl in the elocution lessons. Duluth hopped to the front of the group, quickly shaking Myers' hand. Didn't think you had a villain in you, but you sure proved me wrong. Oh, thank you. I promise I can be very evil when I want to be. Ho 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 ho. Vance looked over to Clarice, finally giving an approving nod. My dear, are you wearing your imp in your hat? Oh, yes, I'm awfully glad that someone noticed. It's all the fashion uptown. Watch. The small creature rose from her hat, and quietly, with the poise of a ballerina, began to dance. Oh, it's so cute. Getting blinded by my light. Must turn off because it's not like she has a whole lot of tracking that needs to be done anyway. Clarice Myers sang, a crystalline soprano weaving a hauntingly pretty melody. The others all stopped what they were doing and crowded around to watch them perform. Vance smiled and Duluth stopped fidgeting, an ear turned intently up to listen. The little imp moved with grace, elegance, and far too many joints. After a moment, however, Harold crossed the room quickly, pulling chalk from his jacket pocket. Miss, allow me to... Myers did not let a hint of awkwardness or effrontery show. Oh, dear, don't mind. It happens all the time. See? She can make a new one. Oh, the mask. The little imp placed a tiny hand to its cheek as if laughing off embarrassment. And its mask reformed. What a clever little trick. The imp bowed, then hid away, back among the flowers of Myers' hat. Harold slunk back over to Faraday's side. Do you think it's okay? Though he had whispered, Deleuze must have been feeling particularly nosy because she chirped up for all to hear. Of course she's okay. Everybody's imps do weird stuff sometimes. It doesn't mean anything. Quite right. One look at that beautiful imp and one can easily tell it harbors a beautiful soul. The imp is the pure expression of an artist's creative drive, her ability. One shouldn't trivialize it. There was general agreement amidst the room, and the others took to chatting. Harold wandered over to the far corner and wondered if he could summon something that would drag him straight off the face of the earth. Is that really what people think nowadays? That imps are their creativity? Their souls? They break them out for fun little shows? You were gone a while, Holly. We did all that research and the public just traded one lie for another. Look, this journal you've got me writing in. It's my old notebook. I'll just open it up and show them my notes. Leave it be. Her imp is advanced, to be sure, but maybe nothing will happen. You try and tell them this darling of the stage has a demon, that if she uses it like this, it'll make it stronger and more dangerous. It'll be mocked, maybe even forcibly removed. Aren't we responsible for at least trying to correct them? Someone gets hurt and we said nothing. Faraday was no stranger to Harold's haggard, tired expressions. But as Harold looked at him, his eyes communicated a fatigue so deep, it must have taken years to accumulate. I hate this city. They'd eat a rock if you told them it was an oyster. Ooh. If it's not lore time. Alright. Demons aren't just the big monsters that lurk in the woods or destroy small villages. Everyone might even have a really tiny demon running around, hiding their keys or eating their socks or something. We humans contribute to them via negative emotions. The difference between a harmless or harmful demon is how powerful we let them get. But what if? Pause for effect. We could put the demons someplace where they can't feed off us. Professor Ludacille has developed a system for capturing renegade or stray demons. We can use sealing alchemy to confine demons to objects or locations. But we absolutely must take responsibility for our own demons. Harry's goal, the professor's goal, is for each person to have the option to seal their own demon deep within themselves. The professor has already successfully done this on 2 people. Show photographs of my eyes, have the professor comment on his own suppression once it's done. Let's get that funding! Meeting went too well. They refused to treat the process as a medical procedure. Talked about rebranding? Demons? Harry said we should be open to whatever gets us the funds we need. I'm not going to lie to these assholes for money. Screw this. Once again, the problem is capitalism. Let's get out of this room and start sealing the mansion. Good idea. I have to spend one more minute in here. I'm going to lose it. Ooh. Boiler. Kitchen. Office. I guess let's start into kitchen. When in doubt, the old left to right method. Of all the ridiculous. Vance put her hand down on a piece of paper when they entered, but left a small, vibrantly violet corner visible. When she moved to grasp it the rest of the way, she dropped it. Faraday rushed over to pick it up. It says, "Bernadette Bell, tonight we are coming to steal." Vance snatched it away, then crumpled the paper up. "I'm sorry, this is a letter that was slipped under the door. Miss Bell didn't want it to distract from the party tonight, so she asked me to get rid of it." Yeah, that thing sure looks like some distraction. "She gets threats sometimes. It's nothing serious." "Well, I will be finishing sealing this place in a bit. It will mean no one can leave or enter, so she should be safe." Vance did not seem mollified by this. She waved her hand. "Don't let that soup boil over." Of course!" Harold nearly fell over the table in his rush to comply. "Not you, the help! Or rather, the other help." Harold watched as an imp the size of a very large oven bumbled by. "It's adorable!" He walked slowly, as if moving at all was a chore. The heat emanating from it, even from yards away, made Faraday start to sweat. It opened its mouth and a whistling filled the room. "His little chef hat! It's like a stovepipe and a chef hat. Oh my god. Oh my god." The large imp removed a tea kettle, poured a cup, and put the kettle back in its mouth. As soon as its mouth was closed, the sound stopped. Vance took the cup, sipping it and surveying the room. On the table, a knife-like imp was chopping some form of leafy garnish. Okay, he's a little less cute, but I like his little face. Oh, a knife flying all over the place on its own. Watching that isn't disconcerting in the least. You didn't fear. It's all well under control. So, the height of technology allows people to finally take a good hard look inside. And what have we done? Sold them to the highest bidder. What's next? Legalizing the black market for organs? These are just rental imps. Some hardworking people, through no fault of their own, very much need that money. Belle considers it magnanimous to at least help those people with their debts. She rents from these people often, but they go back to their originators after a month. It's their decision if they want to rent them out again. It's messed up either way. Vance turned away to check back in on the other imp that was washing dishes. "Dinner is almost ready. If you don't hurry, the food will be cold for everyone." Harold hurried over to the windows and set to sealing them. Had he been in front of a classroom, he might have added a touch of flourish to his hand motions. He would have explained the process in affectionate detail, called out his words loudly, emphasizing unnecessary syllables in order to add pomp and majesty. But instead, he huffed 3 quick breaths on the window and traced symbols in the foggy glass. He closed his eyes and focused on the roiling, abundant anxiety within his gut, and without a word, pressed it all down. The glass grew hot under his touch. A quick dash of salt, and it was done. One more seal down. Harold finished sealing the windows, and the 2 men left. All right, to the office. Now this is an office that smells of rich mahogany. This must be where she writes. Good to know at least one room here isn't just for decoration. Not everything has to be utilitarian. It does on a ship. You're such a braggart. Gallivanting off on ocean travels, while the rest of us are stuck boarding ourselves up in dry study. It's not like I got a lot of time above deck. You think I had a lovely time working on my tan? Ugh, you don't even have the grace to look back on it fondly. You're a fundamentally ungrateful person, says the guy who hasn't washed his own laundry in 3 months. Harold set about sealing these windows too, while he was deep in concentration. Oh! You boys already got in here? I came up to open the door for you. I usually leave this room locked. I'm so sorry. I had no idea. We were just about to finish up in here. It's quite all right. I leave anything important double locked. You wouldn't have found it even if you tried. They weren't trying, but thumbs up. Harold's teeth were grinding loud enough for Belle to hear them across the room. "Please, Dr. Ludacille. You don't need to be so on edge all the time. I assure you, I'm already aware of your history. But I have the utmost confidence. Well, I think that Faraday can handle this room on his own. I'll just head along, shall I?" Faraday sprinkled down a last line of salt along the windowsill, and Harry rushed out of the room, cheeks burning with shame. Belle carefully relocked the room behind them and tucked the key into her sleeve. Right, and the boiler room. They took a staircase down and found themselves in a boiler room. Harold got right to work, while Faraday lingered, peering over the railing. The boiler was immense, large enough to fit a carriage inside. Why make a room like this so big? It's a big house, but it is quite something to look at. It must cost a lot to heat this place. Can we heat your place more this winter? If this job leads to another one, maybe. If you say no, then I'm sleeping in your bed. You stay in your own room. As the two returned to the parlor, they found Clarice admiring the decor. "Miss Myers, do you know anything about Gareth Canterbury?" "The illustrator? She was Miss Belle's dearest confidant, and she was murdered. Terrible how the papers keep sensationalizing it and hounding her for interviews. She clearly has nothing to do with it. And yet they're harassing her just because she's famous and writes about murders. All just to sell papers. It's so heartbreaking." "Thank you. It's disgusting that people want to wring money out of other people's tragedies. Dreadful. I feel so sorry for Miss Belle. I hope you will all be gentle with her feelings tonight. She's probably trying to take her mind off that whole thing." Holly clicked his tongue. "I don't think she is. She hired me to summon her ghost." "That seems so ghoulish." "Literally." "Whoa! This party's getting better every minute. And it will only improve now that I'm here. Gorgeous!" The group turned to see the new arrival. "I'm admittedly intrigued, but that's some big talk." A man waltzed into the room with the utmost confidence. He sported coiffed hair, a lilac waistcoat that was so out of style it bordered on a kind of archaic chic, and a pair of long, tapered ears. Faraday barely noticed the others enter the room. Vance sported a slightly winded Belle on her arm, helping her into a chair. "Being too boring would literally kill me, so I'm very motivated." "Oh, your ears! Are you a fae?" "I've only heard about them in books." "What do his ears look like?" Dea prodded Goose again with her cane, prompting them on. "Cute. Subjective descriptions don't help." "They're pointy. And very charming." "Charming is subjective." "Nonsense. Charming is objectively very, very me." "I'm lupine flowers. And no, it isn't every day you meet a fae." "I got a feeling we got more than one fae in this room if you're picking up what I'm putting down." Vance squinted at Lupine. "I don't actually remember inviting you." "I wasn't invited, but I thought that was rude. Such a collection of adorable people and me not invited. Shame. Plus, I was friends with Canterbury. Gary was good to me. I found out you were going to be contacting her tonight. Call me romantic, but I wouldn't miss a last chance at seeing her. It couldn't hurt. And Gareth was so quiet, I didn't even know she had any other friends. It's really a pleasure to have you here. It's only a tiny, tiny, teeny teeny bit suspicious. Just a little bit. Well, if you're certain. Debbie, shouldn't you know better than anyone else never to turn away a fae? Nonsense. As an expert, I know that the fae are all sweet, adorable, wholesome creatures. They're born amidst the cabbage patch and tenderly rock the children to sleep at night. Ha! Where did you get that nonsense? Sounds like something out of a Deborah Vance storybook. Can you get dinner started, Debbie? You have the cooking and serving imps in the kitchen, don't you? Of course. Please be careful. Lupine bounced on his toes and turned to Belle with a friendly grin. What an odd pair, you and her. Her books are all old, stuffy, plotless fairy tales, and you write exciting, gruesome murders. Witnessing such a wild faux pas, Harold was white in the face, murmuring, he knew that she was Deborah Vance and still said that to her face? Oh, God. Little prissy Miss Cabbage Patch edits your tales of murder? Ha! You're just full of such wonderfully vibrant ideas. I can see it in your eyes and in your writing. Lupine looked at Belle with the most adoring smile to accompany the compliment. Whatever could a frump like that bring to the table that you didn't already have in spades? Oh! Myers hopped like a child in a classroom, one eager to be called on by teacher. Miss Belle, do you mind if I tell him? Go right ahead. It's infinitely more fun to hear my accomplishments coming from someone else's mouth. Oh, very, very humble. Very humble. Myers dove in. Miss Belle published the first mystery under a pen name. You see, she wasn't confident in her work. Though the first one wasn't a major hit, it got people excited about the characters and she started to write more stories. A couple years ago, she got picked up by The Chain. That's when I found out about her. That's when I started reading her as well. You can get The Chain in Arcadia, if you know just the right guys. Well, eventually, Miss Belle felt confident enough to reveal her real name. Miss Belle was a brand new writer, but, as you know, Miss Vance has been around for about 100 years looking at those crow's feet. You only get brow creases that bad from scowling all the time. Miss Vance has been around for a while longer, so she has a lot of publishing connections, and she helped Miss Belle get into the industry. Faraday balanced the journal against his arm to add more. When Faraday looked up, Lupine was already behind him, peering over his shoulder. Ah! Another cute writer. I'm going to get overstuffed with stories tonight. They're just notes. Oh, are you casing the joint? Ha ha ha. Oh, my. Belle does have some amazing things, though. She's been collecting occult items. That's what I read. You can see some in her gorgeous curio case over there. Deleuze scolded Goose. You didn't tell me about what's in the curio case. I didn't look. Well, how about I give you all a tour? This pair of silver rods are supposed to be useful for finding hidden items. Okay, so we've got a dowsing rod. This spike is my most recent purchase. The seller said it was the tooth of a toxic shark demon. Ooh, Goosey, is it stained with blood? Goose grinned. Nah, but it's about the size of your fist. Whoa! This set of candles is from the first successful angel summoning. Faraday leaned over and whispered to Harold, That's not a thing, right? Some demons are good liars. These coins are said to be clues that lead to a treasure map. Something for me to keep busy with once I retire, I suppose. Invite me along for that one. I definitely want Treasure Discoverer on my resume. Down here is a device that reacts to ghostly presence. I plan to test it tonight. Miss Belle, please don't get your hopes up. Devices like that tend to be completely fake. Unlike Harry here, Faraday muttered under his breath. This last one is a personal favorite. It's a listening device that can pick up people's inner thoughts that are floating around in the air. I've heard a lot of very interesting things in the ether. Incredible! You must hear such strange things. They can be strained and difficult to decipher, but they really can push me right through when I'm feeling stuck. The inner mind is such an intriguing place. With the others distracted, Harold shook his head in disbelief. The doorbell chimed again, and Belle smiled as she excused herself. Most of the group stayed crowded around the case, admiring the items, but Faraday and Harold pulled back to talk privately. If you're going to be selling fake seances, then we might as well get into the fake artifact business, too. Demon sharks. Holly curled his fingers with both hands and pantomimed a large pair of jaws. He chomped them on Harold's arm. For the briefest of moments, Harold smiled, but it quickly gave way to his usual demeanor. I certainly hope they're all fake. What if one of those were actually someone's severed imp? The ones in the kitchen are bad enough, but at least they're under Vance's control. Nobody's approved and rented out the stuff in the cabinet. If one got up and got loose... Speaking of getting loose, maybe we should get to sealing those windows. I don't want to miss dinner because I'm hanging off the roof putting salt down for you. I want to at least meet all the guests first. We've barely found out anything at all about Canterbury. True, I guess you need to make this as convincing as possible. Though looking at that case, it seems like she's the type to believe you can move without rowing. Ha! Hey! Harold narrowly avoided both a heart attack and a faceplant straight into Faraday's sweater. We'll be right back. I'm going off on a little unauthorized tour with a cutie on my arm. No telling, okay? You only get a peek into other people's houses on a rare occasion. Deleuze and Lupine slid out of the room before anyone could give any kind of objection. Damn, that Faye was the only one who claimed he knew Canterbury. It would be great to know what kind of thing Belle's expecting to ask her. I would assume it's something about the murder. That, or confessing some sort of feelings. That would be a lot easier. If not more ethical. Bernadette Belle re-entered the room for just a moment, followed by a formally dressed military man. His boots made a loud, crisp sound as he walked. Unless we are graced by more Fae, this is our final guest. Lieutenant Merrick Nowak. Could be Novak. It's probably Novak. The man who now darkened the parlor doorway caused Holly to narrow his eyes. You know him? You've been at sea as long as I have. You know one, you know them all. Novak shot Clarice a smile. It's good to see I have some other guests I can recognize. I went to see her first show on a date with the woman who would be my future wife. She loves your work. Oh, how sweet! Have you got yourself someone special? Oh no, I'm not interested in that kind of thing. At least not in real life. Huh? A girl as pretty as you? You're very flattering, Lieutenant. But as I said, I'm not really interested. You don't have to come up with excuses. Like I said, you look very... You couldn't afford the Duchess's tea, let alone keep up her lifestyle. Lifestyle? I must go. My flock of peacocks requires a good solid tutting. Myers skipped out the door. Novak made to follow. But Faraday moved quickly in the way. Now, Novak, didn't you say you were married? Butt out. What does it matter to you who she is or isn't interested in? No one was talking to you, Porky. You're the porky one, water pig. Novak stepped towards Faraday, who stared him down right back. The metals on Lieutenant Novak's chest shifted. Well, that ain't no good. Opening to reveal a scramble of glaring eyes. Step aside or I'll step on you. Faraday's ankle jerked at an odd angle, and he barely kept it from twisting. His hands trembled. Leave her alone. Luckily for Faraday, Belle chose that moment to return to the parlor. Lieutenant Novak, I ask you to please not use your imp on my guests. Of course, Miss Belle. That's one dangerous creature. They're all dangerous. Not at all. It only helps to make sure people listen to what they're told. It's essential to have discipline in the military. But we're not in the military. I was just giving him a little scare as a joke. I wasn't going to do anything. We're all friends here. Merrick shoved Faraday a bit roughly, knocking him off balance. Harry managed to catch his arm. Holly, don't make a scene. I don't think I could if I wanted to. What the hell kind of species is that? See? He's fine. So, you said all imps are dangerous? Of course. Any imp could destroy a man. Well, I assume that means yours is quite ferocious? Because if you had a demon, I'd have to do my duty by the law. I just see things. Novak gave a low, deep chuckle. I will be sure to beware then. Harry cleared his throat and tried to pull his friend aside, out of the line of fire. We should probably finish getting the place sealed. I'll take my assistant with me. Harold gave an apologetic smile to Belle. Belle returned it with a warm glance of her own. It shone. Genuine. Thank you, Dr. Ludacille. Ludacille? That Ludacille? Isn't he under house arrest? Laughter interrupted from outside the parlor. Oh, an ad break interrupt from the Twitch side. Dun dun dun. Whatever Novak had been about to say, he was soon miles away. His attention had been completely diverted. I'll show you, because I really meant anywhere I'm locked out of. Bam! Dia, so good to see you. Sounded Lieutenant Novak's voice, Deleuze froze. And turned to walk right back out the way she came. So, Mr. Flowers, need a light for your cigarette? Oh no, you'd be amazed at what I can do with fire. Let's find a big room and I'll show you. Faraday smirked as they left. 2 for 2 with the ladies tonight, huh? Seems like she's not that into you, deckhand. She's just being playful. It's her way. Holly, let's go. Harold picked up his large container of salt and the pair left the room. I'm gonna tie that guy to an anchor and throw him into a raging storm. As far as I could tell, it seemed like Deleuze would probably help you. So would most of my old crewmates. You know, the sailor ratio is all off here. Too much law. What if we called in some of them? Please don't get us into trouble here, Holly. You promise you aren't going to embarrass me. Sorry, I didn't know it was embarrassing to stand up for yourself. Huh? Huh? Let's see what we got on people. You're friends with a fae. Yeah, yeah. What, wasn't them? I love the illustration. Good publishing connections. His imp can force you to do things. Navy guy. Pushy. Alright. You know what I mean. Don't get in Novak's face and make a big scene. You might not have a spine, but I can still locate mine. An officer like that could actually hurt us. He could hurt you. Fine, I'll try not to rile him up. But if he starts it, I can't promise I won't fight back. Mom and the rest of the crew didn't raise me to bow to guys like that. They finished sealing the mansion. They were barely done before it was time for dinner. Vance's carefully chosen seating took some shuffling to fix. Faraday disregarded the name cards as a suggestion and sat down next to Harold. Deleuze switched seats at the last moment, leaving Clarice next to Merrick. Lupine didn't even have a name card. But, in the end, the guests all took their seats at the table, the smell of roasted garlic and juicy turkey already floating down the hall. Vance wheeled in a cart with a lovely ivy-patterned cloth. Atop it was a large tureen of soup. When she opened the lid, a fragrant cloud of steam billowed out of it, and she dished bowls. Belle glanced to check that everyone had gotten their soup, but started shortly afterwards, prompting the others to begin to eat as well. "Clarice, I must apologize. I haven't been able to assist in your character workshops." "It's quite all right." "Thank you for understanding. The rewrites are so extensive. It's my responsibility to get you the best script possible. But the director says that he's assembled the finest cast of his career. People are pretty excited for it, even out of town. I've heard my patrons talking about it, but the show's a hot topic in the shipyards too. They said you might be touring with the show if it does well." "Yes, I always wanted to travel around the country. Maybe even around the world. But it's so expensive and scary to do alone. Oh, just imagining that glamorous tour, meeting stars, getting fan letters ferried over the ocean just to tell me they loved the show. It would be a dream come true to have so many people see me perform." Lupine ran his spoon around in his bowl, swirling the soup. He made a small whirlpool in it, and the broth splashed over the side. He didn't bring the spoon to his lips. "I have a lot to go over this evening, but while we eat, we should try to keep it light. So, I think we should ask Goose the question any person would have for someone in their profession. How do you get jobs?" "You mean jobs? Killing people?" "Yes." "It's not as fun as you're hoping. I had a boss. He told me who to go after. That's it." "What do you mean you had a boss? What happened to him?" "The same thing that happens to everyone eventually." "Retirement?" "Essentially." "So handsome and mysterious." Lupine cooed at Goose. Goose stared down at their soup bowl. Lieutenant Nowak laughed and pointed at the hole in Goose's middle. "Well, looking at you, he took a severance package." Goose took their time slurping up some soup before responding. "You should have seen the other guy." "Huh? Goosey? What's that creep talking about?" "I'm not all here. I'm partly somewhere else." "Where?" "Sold my imp a while back. Like other folks, I left a hole. Mine's kinda hard to hide, though." "Hell if I know where the imp is now," Vance called from across the table. "Language!" "Sorry, I'm just saying. If I knew where that part was, I would be there too." Lupine leaned back in his chair and let out a loud whine. "I'm famished! Can't someone tell us a good story already? Anyone have weird family secrets? A saucy romance? A neat gender?" Deleuze finished her first glass of wine. "Ludicile transed his gender." Fucking the correct reaction. "Don't do the pun, Harold. It's not as funny as you." "Why, yes. You see, at its core..." Oh god. Oh god. "Alchemy is the study of transmuting oneself." Womp. "Oh no, I think Mr. Lupine is looking for one of the more unfashionable genders." "Ha ha." His throat tightened, and Harold squeaked out something so high and soft only Holly could hear it. "I want to die." "You can die next week." "That's what you said last week." Lupine pouted and crossed his arms. "Oh, give me something else. Something really interesting. Mr. Seance Guy, you haven't said much. Tell me your story. The quiet ones always make me curious." Nothing much to tell." "Don't be modest, Ludicile. It would be rude to leave our Fey guest hungry. Though maybe you're worried that he'd throw up your story." "Lupine, are you saying you really haven't heard of Professor Ludicile and that whole scandal?" "Can't say I have. He basically invented this whole imp craze. It was a mistake, sure. You can't be that hard on a guy for not knowing all the consequences of your research from the start. I think they're lovely. Imps aren't a mistake. Tea time, tea time. Oh, it's a piece of bit of water. I was like, is this broken? But no. Just a strange looking little spot of water. Oh, tea time. Thank you, tea time. Tea time is here for my poor little baby throat. No one's mad at Ludicile for that. Imps are useful, and we can get a good, long look at anyone's true self using them. And we can also tell when someone has been lying and waiting to prey upon all the innocent people around them. Especially when they slip up and expose their true nature in an event with thousands in attendance. Ooh, and what was that? Silverware clattered. Oops! Dropped my damn spoon! Language! Now, as I was saying, everyone used to think really highly of Ludicile. But the city wised up quick when we all saw. Oops! A hand smacked into a bowl, overturning it. Dropped my fucking soup! Language! Faraday flashed Harold a smile. Harold could have kissed him. That was, if he hadn't suddenly felt very nauseous. Well then, the gentleman with the pale hair. You must have some stories. I'm just asking for a little appetizer. Alright. One time we were up in the Lake of Frost. Coldest I've ever been. Felt like I had ice in my lungs. I had 3 blankets on, yet the frost still got through. The boat was pitching around in the waves, rocking like it was about to flip over. We would have died in that water. It was freezing. But I still finished my research notes and I wrote a letter. So you did nothing. It was an excellent letter. I still have it. Novak skewered something on his fork. It's real cute, the way little guys like that get excited about travel. He goes on one boat, now he's got a lifetime of naval experience. It was one boat for multiple years, but go on. Novak ignored his interjection. Now me. He snorted, chewed twice, and swallowed. I got a whole fleet of ships to surrender. I read about that in the paper. I bet the paper didn't tell you how he did it. Vance barely raised the volume of her voice, but her stern tone carried. No politics at the table, sirs. No offense, but I think you all need to work on your storytelling. If we let them fight, it could make for a good story. Absolutely not. Okay, let me give you a good one. So I had this friend. She was in the worst relationship ever, basically. She had a controlling, overprotective father, and only like one friend. The friend was basically a nobody. She figured if she married him, she could get out of the house. And maybe her big fancy family name might help him out. You know, get him up a few ranks in the military. Novak gave a cough. It sounded like the growl of some large beast. Now, I don't think that story is suitable for dinner, either. Lupine's eyes flitted from Deleuze to Novak and back. That's such a shame for your friend. If she needs someone to comfort her, I know just the guy. Deleuze trailed a finger around the rim of her wine glass. Well, he wouldn't happen to be extremely charming, would he? Oh, he is! Let's talk about something else. I agree. Vance stood up to dish the main course, a large roasted turkey, to all of the guests. At Vance's command, a small razor-thin imp carved neat cuts off the carcass. Ooh, why don't we have Debbie tell us about Faye? Vance kept her eyes firmly locked on her work. I may have been working from older source books, but it was a long time ago. Embellishment for the sake of the reader is normal. And an artist can find herself sorely limited by facts. Don't you worry, I don't care. I think it's funny. I can tell you've certainly increased the number of people who ask me if I've come from a cabbage field. And it's great to see the look on their face when I tell them, not I! I was born from the little dewdrops on a spider's web, and I carried a little mushroom as an umbrella. I feel like I remember getting that kind of story read to me. They were real popular. And now, only kids and old ladies like that stuff. I did start them quite a long while ago. What do you write now? The carving imp went through a bone. It gave out a little cry, and Harold flinched at the sound. You wouldn't understand how frustrating it is to be limited by what readers expect of you. Faraday had spent enough time procrastinating on his papers to feel sympathetic. Yeah, writing isn't that easy, but I'm sure you've learned a lot since your early work. I mean, at least your stories are probably better than that first one Belle wrote. That boat one is terrible. Am I right? Tearing down one person's work to boost another reflects fairly poorly on your character. Miss Vance, you needn't worry so. Even Miss Bell says the first one isn't very good. The director and Bell are having to rewrite it completely for the stage show. Gotta have my once daily sneeze. Bill laughed good-naturedly and hit a palm down on the tabletop. Yes, it takes some time to find your feet. Vance, my darling, please do put a little special thanks credit in the foreword if you use my mushroom umbrella idea, okay? I don't mind if you use it, but I want proper credit. Vance looked to be at the end of her rope, embarrassment and annoyance playing on her severe features. I'll be sure to keep that in mind. The somewhat adversarial chatter continued until the guests were all sitting with plates that were empty and stomachs that very much weren't. Vance stacked the plates onto the rolling cart with the ivy cloth, and the serving wimp wheeled it away. This has been more fun than I thought it would be, but if you'll all follow me to the parlor, it's time for the main event. The guests all settled back into the parlor. Belle took a slow, contemplative sip of her sherry. She looked over at Harold, smiling coolly. Harold's nerves had been shot all night, but Faraday could see him beginning to ease up. Harold had always been the sort of person to comply with what was desired of him. His ruin had been quite a shock to all, and he'd never come close to recovering. Nowadays, people wanted to conveniently forget that Ludacille existed. They wanted his unsightly little tale to be over. How do you appease the people around you when they'd all, politely, rather you did not exist anymore? There was a lurking, obvious answer, but tonight, there was another, much more agreeable way to please the people around him, and a bit of the old Harold was in his eye again. The lecturer whose pompous sense of self-worth was only outstripped by a genuine awe of those around him. A man with boundless energy for showcasing the things he loved. Sometimes it had been a bit much. It was hard to keep up with him. For Faraday, Harold's continued assertions in the importance of every little thing may have been fatiguing, but in those bygone days, Harold would look over at Faraday, and Faraday would remember that there was someone Harold adored most of all. Faraday took a sip of his untouched wine. It tasted like vinegar, but his cheeks felt warm and he hoped the glass would hide them. He did his best to enjoy the memory, and to not think about the years that came afterward. I brought Dr. Ludacille here for a chance to speak to my good friend Canterbury. I have a lot I want to say to her. But I want to know one thing more than anything. Who killed her? I'm going to learn the murderer's name. Straight from the ghost of my friend herself. My goodness, Miss Bell. Such a gruesome thing to discuss. Wasn't she burned up? What a horrible way to die. This is the only way I'll be getting any valuable information or closure. I know the police in this city. Understandable conclusion. They never solved my father's murder either. Not exactly competent. Bell nodded. Dr. Ludacille, I give you the floor. Thank you, Miss Bell. Now, I will explain how. I must ask, isn't something like this dangerous? That makes me want to try it even more. If I'm nervous, can I hold your hand, Mr. Military Man? Hey there! Hold my hand! Maya shook her head and clasped her hands. I don't want to be haunted. Harold cleared his throat, and when he spoke, it was with the same warm tone he'd once used to reassure failing students. My dear, I assure you, every person in this room is under my protection. Faraday found it easy to slip back into the role of assistant professor. He could almost pretend that they were going back to their office afterward. Believe me, it's completely safe. I'll need to have you all hold hands. Everything was fine and back to normal. There he was, Dr. Harold Ludacille, alchemist and professor of demonology. The energy of summoning something like this needs at least 2 people to, dilute the strength? And then, old Harry was spouting the most inane bullshit imaginable, the years catching up and descending into him like a collapsing roof. We need to focus our thoughts on people who have died. Miss Bell, and anyone else who knew the victim, should try to think specifically of her. Once we've all linked hands, imagine Canterbury, as vividly as possible. Harold stood up and put out his hands. Faraday took one, and, even if reluctantly, the whole party linked hands. Lupine gave Duluth's hand an extra squeeze, and she laughed. Now, we'll go around counterclockwise. I want you each to say her name, one at a time. I'll start. Gareth Canterbury. Gareth Canterbury. Oh, we screaming. What happened? The light went out. Please don't let go of my hand. Who just bumped me? The cacophony of boots, heels, and shoes sounded against the floorboards. Get the hell off of me! You're the one clinging to my arm! One heavy set of feet seemed to stomp all around the room. Is this supposed to happen? I mean, yes. Of course. This is all part of the process. Remain calm. Well, if you're all letting go, I'm getting a candle. Please don't. I've got you, Harry. There was more fumbling, the sounds of shifting footsteps, someone bumping against the furniture, and finally, the flick of a light. The dim orange flame waved for a moment, suspended above Lupine's extended pinky. He made his way back over to the light switch and switched it on. Both Harold and Novak were clinging to Faraday. He shrugged them off. Duluth had a suspicious grin on her face. Vance was hyperventilating with panic, and Lupine quickly moved to help her to a chair. Goose stood exactly where they'd been before, face characteristically blank. They adjusted their hat. Myers was laughing to herself. Harold suspected that it was more nervous than she'd like to let on. Despite everything, Harold and Faraday were still in the same position, holding hands, in what could no longer be called a circle. The guests looked around, all of them disoriented. Is everything okay? Well, actually, I hate to be a bother, but we have to finish performing this ritual or else Oh no! The demon Sharktooth is gone! What? Most of the guests circled around the curio case, leaving Harold and Faraday still standing with their hands clasped. Good heavens! Mr. Ludacille, didn't you say this place was sealed? It is! I really have to insist we finish I can't believe this! Such amazing luck! There had been a trace of tiredness about Belle for most of the evening, but now she seemed invigorated. The picture of health. Luck? What the hell are you talking about? Oh, so lacking in imagination. Belle is a mystery writer, and now she has herself a mystery. I have got to go get my notes. With this building completely sealed up, we can solve this little crime right here and right now. This should be fun. But what about... You finish up. I'll be right back. I haven't felt this wonderful for weeks. Belle moved out of the room, muttering excitedly to herself. Oh boy. Actually, I'm not feeling so great. I need a minute to freshen up. I should do a check around. What if someone's hiding out there? Can't solve the mystery if we don't have all the clues. There's a criminal on the loose. No way you're going around this place without someone to protect you. Oh, how horrifying. Someone might take something from my curio cabinet. Dea? This... It's no way to commune with the voices of the dead! He tried to get someone else's attention. We're running out of time to find the killer. Oh. Finally, someone is listening to me. Please retrieve Belle before we lose the... mental resonance? What if the person who left the threat did get in? I need to warn Belle. She hustled out of the room. Harold peered over towards Myers, who was peering towards the door. Please, Miss Myers. We could finish this much faster with just a few more people in the chain. I'm so sorry. But if she's gone to get them, I really, really want to see Miss Belle's notes. I'll be right back, I promise. And I never wanted to see a ghost anyway! Harold looked around. Well, I'm certainly impressed. Is anyone else? Who's there? Lupine hopped from behind a chair. Gotcha. And there he goes too. Faraday gave a long sigh. He looked at the empty room, then at Harold's hands. On the bright side, I don't think they're going to notice you can't summon ghosts. I brought 3 stray imps from home. Had a whole light show prepared. I'd almost finished unsealing their vessel. It was going to look astounding. But now, let's just reinforce the seal and be done with it. Man, it's really just sealing and unsealing with you, huh? What else am I good for? That cheery little line killed the conversation dead. The pair slowly finished their work. Sort of forgot how stressful it was to be around so many people. Yeah, I am a bit out of practice. We'll get through the night. And at least we know neither of us stole the thing. Suppose that's true. Of course it is. You haven't let go of my hand since you took it. Ha. You know, maybe having invited a thief to their party will make me look better. You know, by comparison. Oh, Harry, you really are depressing sometimes. If I'm so depressing, why don't you walk away with the others? Well, I would, but if leaving you once caused so much fuss, then I'd hate to see. A scream rang out. Oh God, what now? As they stepped from the parlor, Faraday and Harold could smell a putrid, singed odor. There was more than one scream, and they were able to follow the sound down the hall. They followed it further, descending to the boiler room. As the guests gathered at the source of the noise, they were all confronted by an inconsolable Vance. In the boiler room, the once stern woman was doubled over, next to a charred body lying in the furnace. Clarice burst straight into tears, and Holly found himself compelled to move over to touch her arm gently. He turned them both to look away from the gruesome scene. Deleuze held her nose, jaw set in a tight grimace. Goose offered her their handkerchief, and she accepted it with a grim nod, holding it to her face. Faraday shot Lupine a nervous look, but it seemed that the twist in this plot was not to his taste. Novak looked towards Deleuze. Harold alone continued to stare at the body. From far away, it simply looked like an unidentifiable, charred corpse. But up close, Harold could recognize the musculature of a likely feminine form, large drops of metal that were once buttons arranged along the torso in a V-shape, and the silhouette of a brow and nose he'd seen so often in the papers. There was just enough left of her to identify. Their host, Bernadette Bell, was dead. Did anyone see this? No. Just heard the scream. Clarice wailed and clung to Holly. Why would anyone do something like this? Usually, someone with something to gain. Or people who do it for money. Lieutenant Novak flicked his gaze towards Goose, who had walked over next to the Fae, leaning down to whisper. They looked up and stood to full height, looming over the rest of the guests. It wasn't hard to imagine this tower of a person picking poor Belle up and shoving her into the furnace. Yeah, it's pretty obvious. Merrick is in the military. Killing people for money isn't beyond him. Dea! There is a hitman right there! There was no bounty on this lady, trust me. Vance rose to her feet, pointing an accusing finger at the rest of them. I've had it! One of you did this! Vance dissolved into tears. Shouldn't we call the police? Harold pinched the bridge of his nose. They can't get in until sunrise. The house is still sealed. Can't you just unseal it? Not this one. I am much better at sealing things up than letting them out. I think your ritual did this to her. That's not how it works. Jeez, lady. You think Harry here can spontaneously combust people from 2 rooms away? If he had that kind of ability, he sure as lightning wouldn't be treated with this much disrespect. Settle down, Holly. She's just upset. It's normal to be irrational. Irrational? How dare you? Sketchy as he is in his personal life, jumping to conclusions doesn't help anyone. There's something else going on here. Of course you feel safe. You've got all the strongest men wrapped around your finger. Excuse me? Not a man. Yes, we're all very aware that one of them's your husband, and you've been flirting with the other all night. Maybe if we can question you all, check for evidence, then we can figure this out. I don't want to be locked in here with a murderer. Have no fear, little miss. I'm more than happy to stand guard until morning for you. Look who's flirting now. And next to a dead body. I'm appalled by that accusation. Protecting a lady isn't flirting. It's just the right thing to do. And parties are supposed to have flirting. Parties and flirting are hand in glove. If anything is inappropriate here, it's the murder. Ugh, maybe we should be in separate rooms. Not that I'm worried. I could fight off any one of you. Really helping your case over there. Please, give us some space to examine the body. Don't touch her. I don't think we can without the whole thing crumbling into a pile of ashes. Faraday knew before the words even left his mouth that it was precisely the wrong thing to say. With a mighty sob, Vance pushed past the rest of the group and rushed up the stairs. Harold decided to take control of the situation. Listen up! We'll all stay right here in this room. I will go and get Miss Vance, and we will wait in here until morning. Not a soul touches the crime scene. There's likely only one killer, and against all of us. Surely logic and a communal thirst for justice will win out. Yeah, no. I'm holding myself up in a room by myself until morning. I'm seriously gonna lose it if I have to spend one more minute in this smell, or in this company. She left. Quickly followed by a protesting Novak. Harold's second attempt to keep the guests together was equally successful as the first. Soon, only he and Faraday remained. For Perhaps they have the right idea. Let's see if this house has a wine cellar. Not going to get paid tonight, so let's use this opportunity to be astonishingly expensive drunks. Harry, it's up to us to figure this out. You saw all that. We can't trust any of them. Only you and I were in the parlor when the murder happened. Any of the rest of them could have done it. Holly, I'm running on empty. I cannot emotionally handle anymore. So if you want me to keep going, I need a good reason. Any reason, so long as it's good. Faraday glared at him. Belle was a good person. Oh, a second sneeze. A second sneeze. This stream is cursed. Even when the other guests were awful to you, she was always nice. She didn't hire you for a parlor trick. She trusted you with the memory of her friend. She might be the only person left in this city who actually respected you. Are you going to hide like a big baby because you don't want to get your feelings hurt? Or are you going to act like the decent man I know is still in there somewhere? Hide like baby because feelies hurt? For Belle. There we go. I knew you weren't a complete piece of garbage. Just mostly. Just a significant percentage. The pair approached the furnace solemnly, crouched down to look carefully at what clues they could find. Alright. Is that a pile of soot? Why is it so far away from the furnace? Harold knelt down to get a closer look, reaching out to touch it. Yeah, it's her brooch. He recoiled, fingers stinging. Was it sharp? Harry, are you listening to me? I have so much to do. Give me that notebook. I feel like I have to write right now. Faraday handed him the notebook, and Harold immediately set to scribbling. What are you doing? Harold's right hand continued to write, but his left jerked the book out of his hand. He put a hand to his temple. Oh, thank you for that. He shook his head, clearing it out. Are you all right? Yeah, I'm fine. Was that a stray imp? Half right. I believe that was Belle's imp. I should have recognized it. Creative imps usually do have a spike or spines of some kind. They push their users to keep working. Different people are motivated by different things. Some people write out of a fierce desire to change the world. Some draft out of spite, which always ends up poisoning the user. But it looks like Belle's sense of self-worth was tied to her writing. An imp with this many spines was likely stinging her constantly, encouraging her to write. Something like that would be pretty useful for getting research papers done. It really isn't the worst sort of imp to have. But, just like with any imp, if it got bigger... He let the pause linger. Faraday swallowed. I'll go get it then. We'll seal it up back at home. Put it with all the other strays. Faraday tried to locate it, but it was already gone. Oh, it got away. Well, it's someone else's headache now. Oh, it's the serving cart. Is this the dinner cart? Why would it be down here? Something is different about it. It doesn't have food on it. Everything looks better when it has food on it. You think I'd look better if I wore a fruit hat? What? Nothing, just a thought. Alright. These stockings? It's just a small piece of fabric, but it doesn't match anything Belle was wearing. Guess if we can find where it came from, we might know more. Alright, let's make sure we don't have anything in the periphery I'm just not seeing. There's a lump of metal here. Oh, I think I know what it is. You remember that key in her sleeve? Oh, the key into her study. The one for her office. Yes. When I look closely, I think I can see a little of the shape left. Barely. But it's enough to tell for certain that is her office key. Ooh, Faraday stood back as Harold inspected the body. Are we sure that it's Belle? Maybe. maybe it's a different body. Or a fake or something. Decency forbids I give any details, but I can confirm that this corpse is, without question, Miss Bernadette Bell. Decency? This is a murder investigation. Get in there and really look. Harold glanced at Faraday. Would you care to do the honors? Faraday stepped forward, but the lingering smell of burning hair was too much for him. I can't. It would be better emotionally if she'd been charred beyond recognition, but yes, I can still tell that it's her. He went pale, finally turned away from the grisly sight. Do you understand? Our combined skill set's not the same as an investigator or a consulting detective. We can still observe and deduce, but we'll have to do it without the post-mortem. Couldn't we at least move her out of there? We can't, she would... Harold felt his shoulders tense and his gut seized up. He clenched his teeth and waited for the anger to abate, and he continued. We cannot move her. She would fall apart if we attempted to. Faraday gave the ground a helpless kick. All we can do is keep the furnace off and hope that the authorities can find something we can't. You know, this is the same way Canterbury died. There's no way this isn't related. It's highly suspicious. But it could merely be coincidence. Faraday raised his eyebrows at Harold. Or maybe, it is somewhat likely, that the two friends who both worked at the same place and were killed in the same manner have the same killer. Wow, brilliant. What a bold claim. You really aren't a detective, are you? Harold walked off to examine something else. I think that's everything of relevance. Yeah, I can't find anything else either. Let's lay out what makes sense. It would make the most sense if the murderer knew the layout of the house. Because they would need to know about the boiler room. It's hard to tell who might have been here before for sure. Or who might have arrived early. I mean, we kind of know, like, who arrived before us. So we got that going for us at least. Or snuck away to get a good look at the house. Looking at this fabric again. Faraday held up the small piece of burnt, ivory-colored fabric. I feel like I recognize it. You should. We saw it at dinner. It was the cloth that was on the dinner cart. I remember because I thought it was tastefully in season. There's been a movement towards more plant decoration lately. Very in vogue. What does that even mean? Doesn't matter. What does matter is the cloth is burned up, which means someone chose to burn it. Why would they do that? I'd have to assume that the person who burned it also burned Belle, so it might have had evidence on it. That makes sense. Well, let's get moving. We won't solve anything sitting around here. Faraday held up the notebook and gave it a little wiggle. I'll start a to-do list. Harold raised an eyebrow. It's blank. Well, I won't know what we're doing until we ask around first. Why doesn't asking around count as something to do? If I have to be awake to do it, counts as doing something. Quit complaining and pick a room. Hum. Alright, the parlor, the dining room, the kitchen, the office, and the music room. Let's music room clockwise it? Music room clockwise it. And they found Deleuze in a music room. At the north wall was a massive pipe organ. Go away. I'm looking for snacks. Why in here? Do you think that you're in... I know where I am. I'm in a room with a massive pipe organ. Got a better look around than either of you did. Bet you didn't even know there was a music room here, let alone a massive pipe organ. No, I suppose not. Just answer a few questions for us, please. Alright, where were you when Belle was murdered? Seems like you could solve this easily by just summoning her ghost and asking her. I actually, funny story. about that. So that whole seance thing was a heavy load? You have to give it to him. It sounded pretty convincing. Can't wait to tell people you're a total fraud. Harold balked and prepared to apologize. Faraday cut him off. Didn't your very rich father die under very questionable circumstances? You design and sell so many ships now. That seems kind of lucky for you. Maybe Harry decides for his next trick. He's gonna summon the ghost of your father to talk about who might have killed him. This threat was barely veiled, but instead of getting upset, it seemed to excite Deleuze. Oh? But you already said that he can't summon ghosts. Why would people believe his lie over mine? Harold noted her reaction and smirked. Doesn't matter. If there's even a whiff of scandal, somebody's gonna come looking for it. Maybe I'd be laughed out of society again, but the press would learn your dirty little secret. I'd take you down with me, Deleuze. Deleuze laughed, chipper. Point taken. Looks like I can't win against a very legitimate seance doer. Anyway, I was upstairs when the murder took place. All by myself. Very convincing. Why don't you tell the truth? All by myself. How'd you get in here? I didn't think this door was open while we were sealing the manor. And there's no windows or other exits. Locks aren't usually a problem for me. That makes you a bit suspicious in my book. Look, Belle was promising to put my ship design into her next book. There's even going to be the setting for the whole story. I had the opposite of a motive. But it would have been a story about a murder. Who would want to buy a boat that had a murder on it? Fictional murders are classy and fun. People aren't usually bothered about the context. Just hearing the name would get them interested. Exactly. You're catching on, Ludicile. I would have had a design featuring heavily in the mystery. It would have sold even more than I already do. People would come for tours. Her being dead is bad for business. Simple as that. And you know, she was kinda a nice person. You suspect anyone, look at my human barnacle, Merrick. He always likes to screw things up for people. And if it's me who's involved, even more so. Screw things up? Yeah, he's sabotaged business deals of mine before. This project with Belle would have meant getting even more international attention. He'd be furious if I got more opportunities. I'm already out of his league, and he's only getting farther behind. So it's not a shock that he would try to cheat to catch up. You think it would really take it this far? Absolutely. I won't lie and say I'd be disappointed to hear it was his doing. Alright, anything suspicious? I did hear something when the lights went out. A lot of people were moving when they started panicking, but Goose moved over and opened the case. I could hear the whole thing. Can you be sure of that? Goose was standing next to Myers and me during the seance. I heard Myers say that someone let go of her hand, and I could tell when Goose let go of my hand. I know that because I am me. So, Goose was on the loose. Then, someone with a heavy step ran over to the back of the room and the cabinet door opened. Goose had a really heavy step. Big folks like that usually do. Merrick has a heavy step too, but he's got those awful metal custom shoes. So, he sounds different when he walks. Deleuze shrugged. You could hear all that, even with all the commotion while the others were making. Heh heh heh. If there's shenanigans going on, you couldn't tear me away. Alright, now I return to my important business. Deleuze turned away from them. Still haven't found those snacks. Ooh, we got a bathroom. Got the bathroom now. Alright. Goose did excuse themselves almost immediately after the lights came back on. So they are a little sus. A little suspicious. Alright. To the bath. Though the door was open, the bathroom was occupied by a large occupant. Hi. We're getting cozy. It was a tight fit, all three of them standing inside. Hey, are you alright? Yeah, it's nothing. So, are you trying to figure out what happened? As a matter of fact. What did you steal from the curio case? I didn't steal anything. Deleuze said she heard you do it. She's wrong. I was in here. The whole time? Yes. Goose's hat slipped even further over their eyes. They looked clammy. I feel sick. That does seem believable. Alright. It's, really cramped in here. Please leave. Okay, bye! Back to the parlor! They found Lieutenant Novak in an armchair, tapping his foot in idle irritation. We have a few questions? Oh, this'll be rich. Alright, where were you? I don't have to cooperate with you. You're both, frankly, beneath me. What the hell am I gonna get out of answering questions for you? The warm, fuzzy feeling of human decency for solving an innocent person's murder? Pass. Now get lost, both of you. Eyes opened once more on Novak's chest, and at the sound of his order, Faraday's legs gave another unwieldy twist. With shuddering, contorted steps, both he and Harold stumbled out the door. Harold was on the ground in a heap. How unpleasant! But, as we both know where we are, it seems that his imp didn't force us to take his words literally. So, if that's how it works, I don't care how it works. I'm gonna kick his teeth in. We cannot kick any teeth anywhere until we learn how his imp works. And more importantly, the investigation goes nowhere until we question him. Fine, let me think. Eyes tend to be found on authoritarian imps. People conscious of the control others exhibit through the social gaze. Yes, people's imps manifest eyes to watch and judge them. But Novak doesn't seem to care at all what anyone else thinks of him. Ugh, maybe it's repressed fear? You're projecting that, I think. Smartass. But seriously, if he were scared of how others perceived him, he'd keep his imp hidden. But he wears his like a literal badge of honor. Faraday? You're a genius. Wow, been a long time since you called me that. I've seen an imp like his before. Aha! A breakthrough strikes. It's very common among police officers. When one is intimidated by the officer using it, then they are compelled to follow the officer's orders. So, all we have to do is not be scared. Well, I can't help it. I'm trying to stand up to him, but he unnerves me. What are we going to do? Switch cases. We need to turn our thinking around. We've been trying to solve the mystery of Bell and Canterbury's murders, when we could have returned to the mystery of the missing wine cellar. Oh, no. Don't worry, Holly. It's not so bad to give up. In fact, the more you do it, the easier it gets. Yay! With a little practice, you can give up on everything at all for days at a time. Hell yeah! You and me both, buddy. This guy gets it. Every day I wake up and I'm like, do I give up today? Tempting. No, I just had an idea, but you're not going to like it. Oh, why would you even say it if I'm not going to like it? We're at a disadvantage if everyone else is using their imps, and we're not using ours. Yes, but I hardly see how you taking off your glasses is supposed to. No! If you were to just unseal yours temporarily, I think we'd have our Novak problem solved. Yes. One problem solved and an even bigger issue left behind. I'm not thrilled about this either, but this is for Belle, isn't it? Plus, she might punch that guy's lights out, which I would find super gratifying to watch. Look, you won't be losing social standing with this dude. He already hates your guts. He might even respect you more after she punches him. Extremely unlikely. Can never be sure with guys like that. He seems like the type who would really enjoy a she punching him, so to be fair... Be honest with me. Can you handle this? Tonight already sucks. I'll survive. So, please? Holly groaned, put a hand to his mouth, looking vaguely ill. Please? I want to see her. Waves of revulsion rippled through Harold's abdomen, and he doubled over. Nausea gripped him, and he fought to swallow back all the saliva suddenly filling his mouth. But, as he just said, giving up was easier the more practice one got, and in a sheer effort of lack of will, Harold gave up. Stomach lurching, Harold vomited himself inside out. And that was not a metaphor. Soon, there was a big mess lying on the ground, but it was not roast turkey and soup, it was a figure. And though she was not human, she'd been around too long and grown from too many of Harold's repressed feelings. The public considered imps to be something they could control. An imp would not talk back. The public would not refer to her as an imp. To them, she was a demon. But the two gentlemen called her Maggie. Maggie hopped to her feet, squealing with glee. Holly, you asked for me. I knew it. I knew you would want to see me eventually. She opened her arms wide and her eye vein pulsed with joy. Here I am, just for you. Yay. I know you're having a bad night, and I'm going to protect you. Do you know just how badly I've wanted to throw my arms around you? Let me wrap you up. I'll never ever have to let go, and nobody can ever hurt you, not ever again. No thanks. Let's just question Novak and get this over with, okay? Faraday stepped towards the door, but Maggie jumped in front of him, wagging a finger. You know what I want from you first. Maggie bared her sharp teeth. Faraday shrunk away from her, but he wasn't fast enough. First, I want to see your notebook. I love looking at it. Beep bop. Uh-huh. Oh, okay. Okay. So the green has been Maggie this whole time. Okay. I'm sad because I'm Garble. Jerk, true. Yep. Haha, Holly, you're so smart. We should kiss. Alright. She snatched it from his hands and scribbled in it, giggling to herself. It's been so long since he let me hold it. Harry and I read through it all the time when you were gone. There. She handed it back to him. Faraday looked slightly shell-shocked. You're not going to. Oh, are you disappointed? Maybe thought you'd get a big ol' smooch out of the evening. No, I remember what you told me. Maggie, I don't like it when you hold me tight like that. Maggie, your spit is literally acid. Don't kiss me. We can keep taking it slow, no worries. PDA is off limits at a murder scene. That is an absolute rule. Unless you really wanted to blow off the investigation, just get drunk and canoodle in the wine cellar. Very romantic. Ugh, Maggie. You're always so much, but... Harry really looked at it all the time? Of course. Things got so much worse when you left. He kept stuffing more and more of himself in me because we're a disgusting, awful person. I tried to be good and let him have me removed. I just hate being so gross. You really made our body look so much better, and I like using that one instead of this thing. Because I'm disgusting and inconvenient and I would just go away forever, we could be a normal person again and people would like us. But even if you left, I always believed you had still cared. I thought about you so much more than Harry did, more with each passing day. I looked at your journal every day. You have to know that, Holly. I would even smell it, just hoping some trace of you was still left in the pages. Ugh. Please, can we question Novak now? Maggie's demeanor was wild and full of pent-up drive. But Holly's unenthusiastic response evaporated all of her excitement in short order. Fine. Maggie walked over to the door and gave the side of her head a casual smack with the heel of her palm. She muttered to herself, I'm not cringy, Harold Edwin Lucille. You're cringy. Maggian. Novak recoiled when he saw her. Ugh, it's that thing from the ambassador's ball. He turned to Faraday. Did Ludisail decide he hadn't had enough ruin? Roar. Hey! I'm not here to explain myself. Not even really here to solve that murder. But I heard you bullying my Holly. Hey. Quit hiding, Ludisail. Only a coward hides behind his imp. And this is one you really should have kept locked up. An ugly imp is a sign of an ugly soul. Isn't even remotely how it works. Just for the record, Maggie was positively glowing. Holly, you stood up for me! I wasn't standing up for you, I was standing up for Harry. Psh, same diff. Anyway, she turned back to Novak. You think I'm ugly? That's nothing compared to what your face will look like if you don't start apologizing to my Holly. Now! She sucked in her cheeks and then spat a wad of bright green something on the floor. The carpet sizzled just for a moment, but long enough to burn a coin-sized hole into it. Novak tried to employ his imp, the eyes flashing. Get away from me, freak! Faraday took an unwilling step back, but Maggie threw back her head and laughed, striding forward and staring him dead in the eye. Aw, you want me to boo-hoo and cower? You want me to nod like a good little boy? That part of me is stuffed in the broom cupboard like the silly nerd he is. With her free hand, she dug her knuckles into her temple. And he'll shut up and let me do my job if he doesn't want me to come out later and snap his fountain pen collection in half. She turned her attention back towards Novak. Speaking of the increasing odds of snapping things in half, say sorry to Holly. Say he's perfect just the way he is. Maggie, you're taking it too far. It's not even about me. I just want him to. Shh! Holly, we need to hear him. Novak lifted his arm, intending to backhand Maggie, but she caught his blow before it could reach her cheek. Oh. The lad wants to brawl now, does he? Novak tried his breast. Tried his breast. Kitty. Novak tried his best to struggle free from her grip, and he kicked at her. Her grip was tight as steel. Unfortunately, his boot tips were tipped with steel, too. He dug into her side, and she dropped to her knees. Novak loomed over her. Faraday let out a cry of outrage, but Novak turned his imp's gaze back towards him. Don't move, and shut up. Faraday's feet froze in place, and he ground his teeth together. Novak grabbed Maggie by the hair and lifted her up. Well, suppose the case is closed now, isn't it? Ludisail's demon ran amok and started killing people. Lucky for all involved, Lieutenant Novak was there to put it down. Maggie's scalp was in a fair amount of pain, but both of her hands were free. She took aim, pulled back a curled fist, and punched Novak in the shoulder. Maggie did not have steel-tipped fingers, but there was traditionally a reason why humans feared demons. When her blow made contact with Novak's shoulder, something popped. He howled in pain. They both fell to the floor, and Novak crumpled, clutching his arm. Maggie stood up, brushed herself off, muttering to herself, Yeah, you're right, Harry. It would have been way easier to just apologize in the first place. But not half as fun. You okay, Holly? Faraday's joints loosened, and he nodded. She looked at Novak. Now you be nice to him and answer his questions. If you're nice, I'll pop that shoulder back into the socket for you. Ugh, fine. Maggie lined up her hands along Novak's shoulder and muttered, I mean, we spent a lot more time studying demon anatomy than human anatomy, but it's all the same, right? What? She popped the bone back into the socket. Novak did his very best not to cry. Maggie gave him a friendly clap on the shoulder. The injured one. Oh, yeah, almost forgot. So, I stood up to you. Does that mean I've earned your begrudging but earnestly felt respect? Novak looked up at her and, without letting go of his injured shoulder, used his hand to make a rather obscene gesture. Yeah, it was a long shot anyway. Novak muttered and pulled himself back to his feet. She turned on Faraday with an excited grin. How about you? You respect me more now, right, Holly? Sure, let's give her a yes. I'm so happy. I'll beat up whoever you want me to, okay? You just call my name and I'll come running. Be back in a moment to question you, Novak. Maggie practically skipped out of the room, aglow with excitement. Holly, you took me out to a nice dinner and I even got to protect your honor. Faraday followed her out, exasperated. He was salted a guy that might go after us later. Potato, potato. Look, it's not exactly my ideal date, but why quibble? It's nice to have someone who's willing to be seen with me. She closed her eye and pursed her lips. You can kiss me goodnight. Come on, you're head over heels for me. I know you wanna. She didn't open her eye or change her posture, but did give an impatient little hop. Sweep me off my feet, you soft, handsome devil. He couldn't look at her. I've told you before, I have feelings for someone else. But that's not... She muttered to herself. I'm just as much Harold as Harold is. Maggie frowned, wilting. I'll get changed into something more comfortable, shall I? She started to walk away. Hey, Maggie, She cut him off. Don't worry, cutie. I'm just heading down the hall for a minute. Nobody likes watching someone throw up. Harold walked back down the hallway, wiping his mouth on his sleeve. Ugh, it's like anise and resentment. 100 apologies for her behavior. You know, after all this, if you want to talk... She's a bit much for me, but you... As I've said before, just ignore anything she says. It's not a good idea to dwell on it. He put his hand to his temple and rubbed at it, muttered something to himself before turning his attention back to the doorway. Shall we? And, without waiting for Faraday to respond, Harold walked back into the room. Faraday ground his teeth. Stubborn. And then followed Harold. They returned to the parlor, feeling much more optimistic about their chances at getting some answers. So, where were you? Now I think you're ready to tell us. Where were you when Belle was murdered? I was with Dea in the hallway. She said she heard someone moving around upstairs. Didn't she tell you that? No, she didn't. Novak gave a deep, fatigued sigh. She's trying to frame me. Very aspirational to have a marriage where your wife wants you to get framed for murder. It does seem possible she was lying. She was clearly lying about being alone, but I assume she was actually with Lupine. More necessarily than with Novak. Because she was generally avoiding Novak. Well, did you see anything suspicious? Sure, I saw Clarice run past us to get up the stairs. Seems suspicious to me she'd be in such a hurry. Deleuze claims you had a reason to kill Belle. She says you were trying to sabotage her. Having a motive doesn't mean I did it. Doesn't make us get her to come back. Novak rubbed his shoulder. Ugh, look. If Dea says I wasn't with her, then that means she has no alibi either. She has a history with murder. I don't want her to get in any trouble. I say she was with me. It's on her for saying I wasn't. And hey, Dea gets a rap for this. Maybe she'll need me to speak at the trial. Wait. You know what? I take back what I said. I was completely alone. Let her come crawling back. I suppose a judge could strike testimony from the record. But this isn't a court case. You're just talking to two guys. Two guys who know that you and Deleuze have an alibi. You're no fun. Yeah, I think we're done here. Alright, that was the parlor. We continue clockwise to the dining room. When they reached the dining room, there was a figure sitting on the windowsill, curled up and still in the moonlight. Oh, I see. The figure was poring over a thick sheaf of papers. What a difference that makes. Oh, this has to be Clarice. Hello? Oh! The figure scooped up the papers, shoving them under a decorative pillow, which had very little to hide them. Hello? What are you about doing here? Hey! We only wanted a moment of your time. You know, if you're not too busy reading Belle's notes. In a very suspicious manner, because she did say that she kept anything important under double lock. Got up to go get them, and suddenly, here they are with you, and she's dead. What were you doing on the stairs? Yeah, Barrick said he saw you running on the stairs. Is he sure? Well, I'm sure that this death is going to put your stage show even more in the spotlight. Did you really want to travel and get famous that badly? Of course not! At that moment, Clarice could no longer hold back and burst into tears. I'm sorry. I didn't think anyone would even know. Clarice cried into her hands. I was on the stairs because I took the manuscript from the first story out of Belle's office. She probably had it out to write the play adaptation. I just really, really wanted to see it. Oh, see? Untrue. An untruth. She kept anything important under double lock. And I honestly thought I could just run down here and look through it without anyone seeing me, and then run back up and put it back. Belle's office door was open. I snuck in there after an imp left. Thought it was a cleaning imp, but the place was a mess. But then I heard the scream, I shut the door behind me, hid the manuscript, and went to find out what happened. I was going to put it back. It's been right here, safe and sound. Why would you do that? It sounds stupid and embarrassing, but I'm just a big fan who completely overstepped my boundaries. I'm so ashamed. Clarice's eyes welled up again and she sniffed loudly. Now I can't even apologize to Miss Belle for it. Alright, where's the manuscript now? Clarice retrieved the stack of papers, still wiping away a few tears with her free hand. I really was in here after that, I promise. I understand if you don't believe me after what I did, but I really hope you find out who did this. Miss Belle was such an amazing writer and a kind person. Clarice looked at her feet and held the stack of paper out to Faraday. You should take this. I'm sick just thinking about it. If you can summon Miss Belle's ghost, please tell her I'm sorry. I'll do that. Harold and Faraday left the room, feeling, not for the first time that night, deeply awkward. She seemed genuinely upset. I want to believe her. I want to believe no one killed Belle. But we have to be skeptical. For example, look at this manuscript. It's the first Constance Little Bear story. And, as really neat as it is to be holding it for real, I could swear Belle said she wrote in blue ink. This is black ink. Ooh. People lie all the time and for the weirdest reasons. Sometimes it's just really hard to tell what to believe. Did the fairy tale lady actually write the first Constance Little Bear? And everyone's like, oh, this one's really bad. Indeed, it seems like everyone here has something they're hiding. But so do I. I can't judge. Alright. So let's say, I assume in here we'll find. When they reached the kitchen, Vance was there, sitting with a stool and a small notebook. Her hands were fiercely trembling, but she seemed to be forcing herself to write. Gentlemen. She did not look up until she finished her sentence. I must ask you to leave. I will not casually chat with Belle's killer. Madam, we are all under suspicion. I still believe that we have more to gain by working together. I decline. If you won't answer our questions, I'll just assume you did it. Very well. Ask your questions and then be gone. Alright, who would have a motive? All of them. You saw that she'd received that threat? One of the guests is a hitman that barely shows their face. You're clearly hiding something. Feel like that alone is more than enough evidence for the police. Though, if you want my opinion, Goose is clearly a red herring. You mean you think that Goose is a ruse? Yes, a ruse Goose. Because they are not the only killer here tonight. She shot Harold a particularly venomous look. Feeling guilty? You should be. Everything went wrong as soon as you started trying to summon that ghost. Hey, I know you're upset, but Harry didn't do anything wrong. He clearly did. You saw it yourself. The lights went out, and then she was robbed and murdered. I've heard the rumors about you, Ludacille. Everyone's been tiptoeing around the subject, but I really don't understand. How is a man with a demon allowed to roam freely? The same as any good, respectable citizen. Well, you know, he's doing his best. I keep to myself, and you know, the rumors of what my demon did, have been incredibly embellished in the retelling. Suppose you must use the last of your good connections. And I'll trust the word of my associates, thank you. And not a word of a wash-up like you. I'm sorry. Harry, quit apologizing for waves you didn't make. Alright, where were you when Belle was murdered? Van stood up from the stool she'd been sitting on, hunched over a small notebook with a black fountain pen. I was looking for her up in her office, but she wasn't there. Started to look around the other parts of the house, and then I finally saw her in the boiler room. Vance turned away and shook a bit. My composure failed. I admit that I screamed when I saw her. After that, I came in here. I feel safer with the kitchen imps to protect me. The imps? They're plenty strong, so don't get any funny ideas. I just need to wait for morning, and this long nightmare will be over. Well, she's certainly suspect number one now. Ugh, away with you. Alright. In the office, our last room. I was gonna say, I would expect it to still be locked because the key got melted with Belle. And she locked the door behind us when we came out, which means Clarice had to have gotten that manuscript out somehow before that. Damn, she locked it. Well, we did find the key with Belle's body, but it was melted. We need to find another way in. What are we blinking about? Find a way into Belle's office. Get Goose to admit they took the tooth. Let's go back to the music room. See if Dea has more to say now that her man is claiming they were together. It's been like minutes. Couldn't you stay not here? It was nice while you weren't here. Alright. We need your help. Everyone seems to. Please. Well, I guess I don't have a lot to do at the moment, and you two are too chumpy to have committed any murders. Thank you. Just don't get your demon out or whatever. I heard it melted a guy's wife's hand off. In a jar of acid? At a party? That's a new one. You said you can break locks. My imp won't let me get locked into any place. So, technically, sure. If I can frame it right. Oh, and Clarice did say she saw an imp coming out of the office. Daya's imp looked like a large metal key. It scampered free of her pocket, tears rolling down its handle. Well, I don't know. I guess you wouldn't mistake that for any kind of cleaning imp, per se. It pushed firmly against the door, and despite its small size, the door pushed smoothly open. The imp muttered through tears as it pushed. "Let me out. Let me out." Are you okay? Why wouldn't I be? Why wouldn't I be? It just does that. Like I said, imps are weird. What they say doesn't mean anything. Thank you, Mr. Luce. That's all you needed? Then I'm off. Snacks are a-callin'. Harold and Faraday entered the office and saw what clearly constituted a murder scene. Alright. Interesting. Scorch marks on the carpet and a mess of papers that were not scattered on their previous visit to the room. There were several cabinets that were open, and the mess made it difficult to know where to look first. Shit! This place is a mess. There's no real way of knowing what objects would be relevant unless you could have a look around. Why me? My sight's better than Deluce's, but not by much. No. Use... you know. I don't want to do that here. You said I had to do this for Belle. So, Holly, can't you do this? At least try to solve her murder? Fine, stand back, or go in the hallway or something. Sure. Faraday took a deep breath and took off his glasses. Belle's script for the play. It burned up with her. Almost none of it is left. Ooh, okay. It's not salvageable. Fascinating. What if you climbed that, fell backwards, and just broke your head open? It's pulled open and something is missing. Something that belongs here is gone. I won't be able to find it if it's not in this room. What if that's the whole reason she was murdered? Almost nothing left on top except for a few pens and blue ink stains. Will the next person who owns this desk even know who Belle was? Imagine just running at the glass and trying to jump out. Harry's seal would push me back. He would save me without even knowing. Yeah, I like how the imps are just intrusive thoughts. Intrusive thoughts go brr. That what we got? Am I oh, wait. There's a burn mark on the ground and one on the ceiling. She died right here and nobody heard it. Did she just combust? Could I just burn up like that? Could Harry? What if the killer comes after us next? Yeah, where has our Fae friend gone? The one who said, you know, the things he could do with fire. Oh no, is my pixel hunt, like, failing? We're going to have to just start clicking, too. Or check this paper. Yeah. We're just... This is part of the script, too. Hours and hours, all ashes. I wonder if it'll never get made because of this. What will happen if it's gone forever? What a waste. Death is so senseless. People are gone so fast. You piece of shit. How many times have you run away? You could have done something with your life. You are the most pathetic loser. A man with no impact. Might as well have never existed. Belle wrote thousands of words more than you ever will. And now she's dead and her work will outlive her. What work have you done? You don't matter. Nothing matters. Nothing you ever do will be worth anything to anyone. At least Harry's done something. You're too broken to finish a single thing. He's too good for you. When you die, not a single person will care or remember. He tried to keep looking, but the room felt bigger and bigger every second, like it was going to swallow him. At everything inside, it felt incomprehensible and impenetrable. His whole life felt like something he wished he could forget. His failures, his unfinished work, they all felt like 1,000 pounds manifesting themselves on his chest. He stared at the room, and in every single object, Saw the terribleness of a cold, uncaring world that would burn or fade or rot. The room reminded him of how he didn't deserve to be here, or anywhere. He was worthless. He lost control of his breathing, and the world felt like a stage he wasn't even on. His heart raced, his face contorted into pained, gasping sobs. He couldn't make words. He struggled to stay standing or to catch his breath. "Holly! I'm coming back in!" Harold moved close, wanting desperately to make his stop and put his arms around his shaking friend. Even though his arms ached to hold him, hoping that protective feeling would reach him, but he waited for permission. Faraday's voice was just a series of gasping sounds, but between them, he managed a strangled word. "Oh, okay. Babies. Well, well, well. Babies and the end of my pot of tea. Alas." Harry pulled him into a hug and Faraday burst into tears. He moaned and tried to catch his breath between wordless, pained utterances. "I'm sorry. I'm right here, Holly." Harry's arms were tight around him, the pressure familiar. Holly wanted to sink deeper into the grip, to fall back through the years to when his embrace had been on his whim. Even now, Holly could feel an awkward curl in Harry's fingertips. Hands once so comfortable with his body now didn't quite know what to do. "What did you find out?" Faraday choked back a bitter laugh. "Right back to work, huh? Sorry, this isn't exactly a thing I do regularly." "Right. Hopefully it was something important. You're really awful at comforting, you know? Sorry. No, let's just stay here for a minute. That's enough." He almost felt Harry pull away, but with a sudden fierce affection, his arms wrapped tighter. There was a lot he wanted to say, but he bit back every single one of those words. After a couple minutes, Holly found it easier to breathe. And they got back to work. The murder took place here. That burn mark, that's where she died. It wasn't in the boiler room. And whoever did it also burned up the entire final draft of her play. I'll get that written down. So... Faraday grit his teeth, managed a cocky grin. "Where to next?" "Well, now we got our suspicions changing about. So if it was a cleaning imp, and obviously somebody who worked in the house, Darcy probably has access to the office even without the key that Belle had burnt up. But additionally, that key was burnt in the boiler, so it's entirely possible that that burnt after she died. The room was already a mess when Clarice was here. She doesn't really have an excuse for not noticing the entire script of her play burnt. But when did that happen? We have the Fae, who we haven't seen in a while, who could manifest fire. But we also have Darcy, who had control of that big old oven boy. You said everything we need to say to Deleuze, so let's head back into the hall. Interesting. Alright, get Goose to admit they took the tooth. I guess I could go talk to them some more? I don't know if I'll have anything new to say. I do like how we all cram in here. No, never mind. We don't have anything new to say. Interesting. Alright. I guess let's go talk to Clarice. Oh, did we not ask where she was? I was in here. I really love the decorations. They'll put a lot of things from her own house into the story as Duchess Baker's style and taste. I'm trying to absorb inspiration. Didn't Belle say it was the parlor that was styled like Duchess Baker's room? Ho ho ho! Everything you see is part of my method. Alright. She left it unspoken that she would stay in the dining room, where she assumed it was much safer. Huh, alright. I mean, maybe if we go back now, maybe there's some more to say. No, never mind. Alright, alright. I guess back to the kitchen. Come to bother me again, I see. Why would someone burn her script to the play? What a horrible thing to do. I had no idea it was burned. She'd been working on it tirelessly. Well, it's almost completely gone. I doubt anyone can use it. I'm sorry. At least her legacy can continue. Even if all her notes are gone, I have to go back to the originally published version. I'll make sure that the show goes on. Aha! See? So she wrote the original story for sure. So there was some bitterness that Belle was editing it to make the final script version. After all, the creative voice behind the Constance Littlebear mysteries has not entirely departed. As her editor, I can continue the stories for her. I came in here to start making notes right away. It felt like the only way I could respect what she's leaving behind. We'll let you get back to it then. Yeah, she is the original creator of Constance Littlebear for sure. Aw. I mean, I guess we can go back to the office? Yeah, there we go. What are you doing in here? Snooping? You shouldn't. You gave up. May we ask you a few questions? By all means. How'd you find out about this party? We've been planning this for a while. We got floor pans, got her to run into Goose. Whenever she decided to let them in would have been all the chance we needed. Why come steal something when you can't get out? That would have been exciting to deal with. But it wasn't something I planned for. This party just happened to be when she invited them. And I found a way to sneak myself in under the circumstances. I didn't know you would seal the place, though. There's no way to get out of here until morning. That was a bit of a hitch, but I'm sure I could have worked something else out. A challenge. It would have been fun. Did you like my trick with the lights? You really scared poor Clarice. No one got hurt. No one was supposed to get hurt, at least. I really don't know what went wrong. Oh, well, I guess Goose was supposed to confess after all. I don't know how or what we missed, but there's that at least. Wasn't paying attention to anything but the prize. The prize being, I just love demon sharks. I hate to break it to you, but there's no such thing as demon sharks. Don't tell Goose. You'd break their heart. Alright, where were you during the murder? I was checking on Goose. They're usually real tough, so I was surprised they were sick. So you've met them before this. Guess the cat's out of the bag on that. Such an adorable detective, aren't you? He leaned a bit closer to Faraday with a wink. Faraday blushed and stammered. Yeah? So you know them. Why pretend not to? I'd rather come clean. I don't want to deal with getting a murder pinned on me. I mean, there was a little sense that they already knew each other. I'm a thief, not a murderer. I'm guessing here, but I feel like everyone we talk to is gonna say they're not murderers. That at least one of them is a liar. Ask Goose then. They'll back me up. Say I told you it's okay. Alright. Aw, I thought we could paw through Belle's notes and fill up on some fun stories. Come back if you change your mind. Bye for now, cuties. Alright, now we can go. Alright, we've all crammed in. Lupine says you can tell us the truth. Okay, if he says it's okay. Lupine and I are partners. We work together to steal imps that belong to other people and give them back to their owners. I did steal this. Goose reached under their hat and held out the sharp-pointed object. You seem like you're smart enough to know this isn't a demon shark tooth. Yeah, but we didn't know what it actually was. It's someone's imp, and they deserve it back. Maybe it's better if I take it and seal it up. No way. Goose pulled it away and put it back under their hat. You don't have the right to deprive someone of part of themselves. Maybe they got rid of it for a reason? No matter the reason, living with only part of yourself will always feel empty. Alright. It's, really cramped in here. Really cramped. Stop doing this. After everything we saw and heard, I'm pretty sure I know who killed Canterbury and Bell. Faraday nodded. Me too. You want to check your notes before making an accusation? Now would be a good time to do that. I think I got this. I mean, it's pretty obviously. Harold put a finger to his lips and whispered, "Shh, wait a moment." He leaned in and quietly continued, "I'm certain that we're on the same page. But let us proceed with caution. We cannot tell where exactly the rented imps may be. We cannot allow them to suspect what we think it is. Vance." Ollie nodded, then stated loudly, "Since all of you said it wasn't you, it must have been a suicide. No murders in either case. Mystery solved as far as I'm concerned." He tilted his glasses down so that Harold could see his eyes, and gave a big wink. Harold did his best to act annoyed at this, instead of incredibly charmed. They headed towards the kitchen, but instead could hear movement towards the music room. When the two men arrived at the music room, they found Vance there, as well as Lupine and Goose. "Hold it right there." Lupine gave him a cheeky grin. "We are nosy tonight, aren't we?" Faraday clenched his hands into fist. "Despicable! You were in cahoots with her the whole time. Guess there's no point in hiding it after all." Goose withdrew the demon shark tooth from underneath their hat and handed it off to Vance. "The great thief has successfully finished another heist. You said you were a thief, not a murderer." "Murderer?" Lupine's eyes flitted from Faraday to Vance to the tooth in her hands. "I see. Goose, you messed up big time. If I hadn't been so worried about your health, I would have noticed sooner. What's all this racket?" Deleuze entered, quickly followed by Novak and Myers. Goose motioned towards Vance. "She's..." Faraday lost his patience. "Yes! Of course she's the killer!" Myers shook her head. "No! That can't be true. Miss Vance and Miss Bell have been friends ever since Miss Bell wrote her first Constance Little Bear mystery." Harold withdrew a sheath of papers. "My apologies, madam. But not a single thing you've said is correct. Because Vance was not Bell's friend, and Bernadette Bell did not write the first Constance Little Bear mystery." What? When Bell gave Miss Myers her autograph, she signed it in blue ink. The same blue ink she claimed to have used to write all of her stories. But this first draft is written in black ink, with spidery handwriting that differs significantly from the rest of Bell's notes. The spidery handwriting is not, however, only to be found on this first draft. It can also be found... Faraday snatched the small notebook out of Vance's hands and held it open to show the assembled onlookers. In Vance's personal notebook. Not a word of this is true. This is just a distraction. He's throwing accusations around in order to confuse you all. None of you can trust such a vile man, nor his associate. Hey, could have sworn I heard you mention that you were the one who recommended Ludicile to Belle. I mean, Ludicile's not a guy I would invite to a party either, but I was looking for someone shady to take the blame. Plenty of people would assume he did it. She invited me, too. She said that Belle had stolen her imp and she needed our help getting it back. She was supposed to give Belle our calling card so that Belle would know we were stopping by. Why did she even need our help? Miss Vance, you could have strolled in and asked for your imp back at any time. Boss, it was a frame-up. Oh? She must have figured if Ludicile didn't take the fall, there'd be two more outlaws as backup. Me? I've never someone's backup. I never play less than center stage. All that matters is she had plenty of patsies shielding her from suspicion. So cruel. It was mere conjecture, nothing more. How on earth could I have killed Belle? As you've so callously established, she gestured to the hole in her neck, I have no imp of my own. Not true, you vile thing. I'm not lying. I haven't published a book in years. I was forced to sell my imp. You didn't have your imp. You had several rented imps. As you all know, Vance made our dinner tonight, using one of the cooking imps that makes a flame hot enough to char a person alive. One that is, I might add, more than big enough to hold a human body, and soundproof enough to smother a tea kettle's screech, let alone the last cries of poor Belle. And she's had control over them both in the past as well, because she said Belle would rent those imps from the same person often. She used the cooking imp to kill Belle in her office. Then, assuming the imp couldn't move with poor Belle inside, Vance put Belle's body onto the same cart she used to serve dinner, the one with the ivy cloth, carted Belle's body to the basement, dumped her into the furnace, threw the incriminating cloth in after her, and then screamed, alerting the rest of us. You did it! Admit it! I'm stunned that a man like you was competent enough to put this all together. But solving this only means you've doomed everyone here. So fine. What does it matter? I wrote the first Constance Little Bear mystery. I feel so good to say it. I published it under a pseudonym, knowing that the public would never accept it from me. Me, a respectable writer of beloved fairy tales, writing tales of blood? It would sully my reputation. The story did modestly. Many readers enjoyed it, including Bernadette Belle, the little upstart. She was a little nothing writer who loved my story and confided her esteem, not knowing that I was the writer. I told her my secret, and she was so excited she asked to assist me in continuing the series. I even allowed her a small percentage of the earnings, but as we published more and more, sometimes trading off submissions, it became apparent that the public preferred her stories. So I let her write more and more, but she had the gall to suggest that she deserved more of the profits. She even confided in her nosy little friend, Gareth Canterbury. Canterbury said it was wrong for Belle to write so much and for me to get all of the profits, as though the series wouldn't exist without me. I, the creator of the series, was falling deeper into obscurity. A certain standard of living is expected of an authoress of my esteem. I had to sell my imp, my creative drive, to keep up appearances. I haven't been motivated to write a single page since. She thumbed at the hole in her neck. It was smaller than Goose's, thus easy to mistake for an earring. I had all but given up on ever seeing my creativity or my glory days ever again. But wouldn't you know, unwittingly, Belle bought my imp. And now there's going to be a stage adaptation of the first story, my story. But the director and Belle insisted on having Belle rewrite it. That was really the final straw. So I dealt with Canterbury, as she knew our secret. And then I dealt with Belle. And now, I don't need a single thing in this house to survive. And fire has really done me quite a few favors lately. Why not one more? The oven imp stood in the doorway, flame and iron barring the only exit. This rental imp just became unstable. It lost control and burned the whole mansion down. Tragically, none of you made it out. A shame we didn't catch that it was unstable when it killed Canterbury. What a shame, too, that I shall have to rewrite that script myself, now that Belle's gone. But it will tie the whole narrative up neatly. An unhinged imp, an unfortunate fire, but no one to blame. And the public loves a neat and tidy story. The guests were at a loss for words. Lupine whistled in admiration. Lady, that is a wild story, sure. But you're forgetting one thing. We're not just going to stand around and let you kill us. Goosey, get her! Goose drew a gun from their side and held it level at Vance. You seem to be forgetting about the second imp, which is just as dangerous. The razor-thin knife imp sliced deeply through Goose's hand, and they recoiled, dropping the gun and clutching the wound. Vance laughed and held her own imp aloft. First, I shall reclaim my creative drive. Then, I will claim your lives. And then I'll reclaim my career. Harold felt his stomach lurch. It wasn't the mealy, self-obsessed fear of social discomfort this time, but a sudden terror for the safety of every person he'd locked inside the house. Wait! When we entered the house, Belle mentioned she hadn't been feeling well. And when Goose stole the imp, Belle was full of energy, while Goose was suddenly stricken ill. That imp is dangerously full of spite and envy. What must have been what made Belle and Goose sick? If you return it to yourself right now, you might not be able to withstand. Vance laughed. Don't be absurd. When I have it back where it belongs, not you nor anyone else will be able to take it from me. Once I have my creative drive back, I'll be returned to the height of my writing ability. How could I, the greatest author of the modern era, be envious of anyone else? And with that, Vance lined the thin spike up against the hole beneath her ear and drove it straight into her neck. With it reunited to her, she seemed to lose her balance and crumple to her knees. I forgot how this used to feel. I tried to warn you. Imps are complicated, and yours is filled with so much envy it could poison anyone. But this should be all I needed to have some creative drive Belle had. Vance moaned, trying to focus enough to direct the rental imps in her defense. She probably had no idea this thing was even yours. The cabinet was mostly just fake junk, and she probably would have gotten rid of it if she knew it was making her sick lately. Thea, help me tie her up. What, you just assume I have rope on me? I mean, I do. What do I get for turning off my tracking light? But that's just a rude thing to assume. An hour later, the sun began to rise over Belle's mansion. Lupine and Goose were the first to make a swift exit out of one of the windows, without so much as a farewell. The other guests left more conventionally, if you can call heading home after harassing for answers by belligerent police conventional. The police cuffed Vance and agreed to bring her in, pending a more thorough check of all the facts. As she was led past Harold and Faraday, she chuckled. You think this was a loss for me, but even if they take me in for a while, I'll still come out on top, without Belle's notes. Who do you think they'll be turning to write that script? Who are they going to consult about the direction of the series? Who will write the next story? Soon, everyone will know I wrote the first story. Full creative control. It's my series now. The pair watched her go, her gleeful laugh fading away as she was taken out the door. That sounds about right for the level of justice in this city. Disgusting. If the chain does publish the next story, I'm sure as hell not gonna read it. While Harold gathered up his things, Faraday slumped over the couch. Hey, next time you're going to a party, remind me that I hate them. How about I remind you of this? Nobody invited you in the first place. Ugh. Faraday rolled over. Do you at least still have a solicitor? Some kind of lawyer? There's got to be something else we can do, so that Vance doesn't get her way. Oh, sure. I'll just hire a lawyer to help Belle's memory, with all the money she didn't pay me for this evening. Faraday pressed his face into the cushions. We could pull a lupine and help ourselves to payment. Harold sighed. We could probably get away with it. It just wouldn't feel right, even... Oh, we're hearing the memories from the thing. I have to get my script back from where I hid it. Harold dropped his bag and clutched at his arm. Hanging off of his sleeve was Bernadette Belle's imp. You little rascal! When I finished finding that script, I'm going to seal you away. Wait, what? Harold opened up his bag and dangled the little thing above it. Nothing, it's simply Belle's imp again. Got me with one of those accursed jabs. No, before that, you said Belle's script? Yes, it's trying to get me to... Harold stopped and the imp hopped onto his arm. He gave a questioning look. Oh, I think I understand. Belle's imp was made from her desire to continue working. Belle was obsessed with finishing her script when she died. And without Belle around, it seems to need to compel someone else to complete the job. The imp hopped a little, seeming to reach for his hand. Harold lifted a finger without second thought. He pressed his fingertip down against one of the sharp spines. I need to get the script from where I hid it in the office. Harold was halfway out the door before Faraday could hop to his feet and follow. The imp led them upstairs to Belle's office. Moving his sore hand along the side of the desk, Harry felt around and found a secret compartment. It slid open with little resistance. They pulled out a large document, all handwritten in blue ink. Faraday gripped Harold's shoulder. She must have suspected something. Does it look like it's usable? Faraday flipped through carefully. He was quiet for a time, taking it in. Holly? This rewrite fixes all of Vance's mistakes in the first story. I'm sure people are going to like it. Vance is probably going to scream her head off when she finds out. Ha! Serves her right. Can't believe something good finally happened tonight. We can give this to Myers and the director, and everything will... Shh! I'm reading. 3 months later. In Harold's stray imp-infested home, Harold and Faraday were dressed in their best yet again. Faraday looked down at the 2 tickets in his hand. All that stress and hard work. She didn't even bother to send us free tickets. At least we managed to get money together for them. You think you can handle this? It's the premiere, so there are going to be a lot of notable people there. For one night, I promise to ignore them all. Faraday wasn't sure Harold could keep that promise. But he appreciated the effort. You know, I heard an imp lost control in the theater last month. It'd be just our luck to run into that on our one night out. I'm going back to bed. Harold turned and plodded away. Like hell you are. Get back here. I'm letting my legs go limp. I simply love them. I'll drag you if I have to, you lousy bastard. I earned this damn date. True end. Oh, don't you tempt me with multiple endings. Ooh. That was so cute. I love the watercolors. It was just nice to look at. Alrighty. An excellent. Keep meaning to learn Ren'Py, you know? I started teaching myself Python and then neurodivergence. I should get back to that. I really should. I want to make little visual novels. Yeah, that was really good. Here, what's under extras? You're right. Oh, we got all the character art. The backgrounds were neat. I liked the use of photo over it. The music. Oh, here we go. This was initially made as a 1-month game jam entry. We wanted it to feel like the first case in a game with multiple mysteries. Art was all done with watercolor and fountain pen, then scanned into the computer. The backgrounds were a combination of photograph and traditional watercolor to give them a colorized photograph look. It worked. Yeah, the art was all very nice. Also, all the imps have their own rules and ideas, and it would be fun to write about them. I'm a sucker for monsters that represent, well, what do you think the imps represent? Please let us know if you enjoyed Case and Serialized Killer. We already have more episodes that we'd like to make. And next up would be an investigation on a pirate ship. With pirates that also have to be Holly's moms. They're great. I love them. I simply need lesbian pirate moms in my life. Excusez-moi. This is my brand. 100%. And I need that. I need that in my life. Alright. All right.